Sahel is not a plea for charity in the form. The struggle being waged in the Sahel is not a plea for charity in the form of sovereignty. It is a fight to reclaim our sovereignty. And from this perspective, my remarks revolve around two cliches that need to be clarified, because we observe that through speeches and even the human rights issues that are raised, there are strategic plans to assassinate our leaders that are underway. And when I speak of a strategic plan to assassinate leaders, I need to be precise in my words so that everyone can understand. From the moment we talk about democracy, it is said that the AES countries must return to democracy. They must return to holding elections. What kind of democracy are we talking about? That question mark deserves to be raised, considering that from the 1960s to 2022, if I take the case of Burkina Faso, we have been governed by so-called Democrats who were installed, put in place by people sitting on the other side of the oceans. What has been the impact on the ground? Let me give a few examples. From 2022, that is from 1960 to 2022, that makes 62 years. Compared to the period from 2022 to 2026, that's 4 years. In 4 years, here is what has been accomplished. When the call was made to the Burkinabe people to face the current situation, starting in 2022, at the moment when I'm speaking to you, the state has allocated 104 billion CFA francs to agricultural mechanization and inputs. And what results have we achieved? That means 104 billion, which is more. And this allowed us to reach 67,000 tons of cereals to feed the population. Isn't that defending human rights? If you have an accident right now and go to the hospital, you could die because we can't get a scan done. The cost has been reduced from 50,000 to 25,000. That's a 50% reduction during wartime. But from 1960 to 2022, this has never been done. I take, how should I put it? We have just launched the recruitment drive called Operation 1000 times 5. 1000 times 5 means that each year we will recruit 1,000 specialist doctors over 5 years. From 1960 to 2022, those who established their democracy here never did this. Let me give another example. We have just opened the hospital, the largest hospital in our country, on July 29, 2025 in in Bobo Dioulasso, in cooperation with China. And I tell you, Your Excellency, that in our country, since 1960, it was on July 29th, 2025 in Tingango, that the first operation enabling a kidney transplant was performed in our country. When someone was sick, they had to take a plane. It was on the other side that they went to have it done. Now it is done in Burkina, in a country that is at war. Another example I would add is the construction of 920 CSPS from 2022 to 2026. in a country that is at war.
No, you're doing it all wrong.
Don't wash your engine.
On December 21st, 2025, or even up to what we have just observed after taking stock, there are 38 newly built health centers in a country that is at war. I could name others as well. People say, but what are human rights? It's the right to life, isn't it? Let me give another example. Regarding the development of lowlands, the development of lowlands to allow farmers, that is peasants, to be able to take care of them, we have gone from 5,000 hectares since the 1960s up to now. We have gone from 5,000 to 25,000 hectares in 2025. But this is a country at war. And still in the field of agriculture, for plowing, for the peasants who own the land, we take tractors and go plow it for them for free. And in 2025, we plowed 58,000 hectares of land for free for the peasants. Is there any greater defense of human rights than that? And when I take, for example, the armed forces, among the 11 agreements where it was stated that we cannot purchase equipment elsewhere unless it's from France, and we cannot train our soldiers elsewhere unless it's in France, I inform you that from 2022 to 2025, we have independently formed around 20 rapid intervention battalions, all fully equipped with at least 500 soldiers per battalion. I'm not going to give the exact number because the enemy might be listening. And since these are military matters, if I give the details, you could prepare yourselves and come. I won't give everything. I'll just give an approximate figure. Whether it's less or more, you won't know. Second example, we have formed about 10 mobile police intervention unit groups. They are already deployed in the field. We have established gendarmerie legions throughout the entire country, nearly 10 mobile gendarmerie squadrons. They are already deployed in the field. From 1960 to 2022, there was only one air base. Today, we have 4. From 2022 to 2026, 4 air bases. There you have it. But I say I'm giving approximate numbers, not the total. That's it. The volunteers for the defense of the homeland who have been considered as militias. I myself, standing before you, am a volunteer for the defense of the homeland. So these are not just men picked up off the street to say that we form militias. And all those who are volunteers for the defense of the homeland on the ground, as time goes on, we remove them, we integrate them directly into the army without training. Those who are not fit to join the army are placed either in entrepreneurship, whether it's agriculture, carpentry, or welding. That's what's being done in Burkina. So it's essential that we ask everyone to take off their blinders in order to better see reality. What we're
leaders are such a bunch of cowards. Even in this set of African leaders are such a bunch of cowards. Even in 1,000 years, they can never come out of this mindset. You watch President Ruto behaving like a son, meeting a father with candies from work, so excited to see Macron in his country. Where is the leadership of Macron when France cannot survive a single day without Africa? When the entire way of life of the French people is dependent on destroying lives in Africa to keep the French economy afloat, the decision to kick out Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from the economic community of West African states came from not just ECOWAS member countries, but also from France. Is that correct for me to say or not? The Macron Africa Summit in Kenya has finally ended. And without surprise, ladies and gentlemen, majority of African presidents I expected would attend, actually attended. And here are the names of African heads of state who couldn't miss this summit for anything, starting from the elephant in the room. Yours truly, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, president of Nigeria. Good friends with Macron. He has visited Macron multiple times in Paris since he became president of Nigeria. And there was no way he would have missed this event, including if the entire Nigeria was on flames. He would still make time to meet his friend Macron in Kenya. And then you have next is Basiru Diomaye Faye, from Senegal, good friends with Macron, also visited Macron a few times as president of Senegal. He started off as promising with youthful exuberance and a lot of expectation, but ended up becoming a student of Macron. He's the one person I consider a direct student of Macron amongst the presidents of Africa. Followed that is President Brice Oligui Nguema of Gabon. This president is so loved by Macron. Macron actually visited him last year, November, in Libreville, the capital city, to solidify their friendship. He's even scheduled to visit Macron in Paris somewhere in the latter part of this year. It's a loving relationship between him and Macron. So amazing to watch, ladies and gentlemen. It's impossible for him not to have attended that summit. Next on the register is President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone. This president in 1 year had to meet with Macron twice. In fact, it was in a space of 3 months that they met twice. May of 2024, they met, and they met in Paris on the same Macron Africa Summit, and again in July of the same year, they met again. He enjoys traveling to Paris. I mean, who doesn't like traveling to Paris to see Macron and the Eiffel Tower? That's the president of Sierra Leone I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Then you have President Joseph Boakai of Liberia. He received the presidential welcome to France last year when he paid a visit. President Boakai and Macron, President Boakai and Trump are good friends. He wants to collaborate with these powers to build a new Liberia, and so he enjoys their company. Ladies and gentlemen, moving forward, you have President Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi, Ismail Omar Guelleh of Djibouti, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt, and also John Dramani Mahama of Ghana, all good friends of Macron. They came with their entourages to meet, discuss strategies of economic matters and security matters with Macron. Then you have Daniel Chapo of Mozambique, and on the list goes, ladies and gentlemen. All good friends of France and happy to see Macron in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your tall list of heads of states from Africa. Happy to meet Macron. Then while Macron made presentations to them, Macron remembered to throw some light and some shade on the irrelevance of the AES in West Africa. Macron wanted the invited heads of state to know that France does not recognize the leadership of the AES. He completely does not even see them. Be it Traore, Chiani, or Goita, he has no respect for their positions as heads of state in these West African countries. He referred to them as military men or coup plotters. And he said, and I want to quote him, "It's hard to say that West Africa will not be in this room," end of quote. Meaning that you already have all of West Africa in that room, whether AES are in or not, ladies and gentlemen. Just listen to his speech in person and let's get back to it.
I want just to clarify the fact that Western African countries will be present. I mean, President of Senegal, President of Ivory Coast, President of Gabon, President of DRC, and many others will be here. It's hard to say that Western Africa will not be present in this room. You have 3 countries, and I do regret that, which decided, because of the coup and the behaviors of the military people in charge, to put them aside from the rest of the club, by the way, aside of ECOWAS as well and others.
This is what Macron said. We have decided because of coup and the behaviors of the military people in charge to put them aside from the rest of the club by way aside of ECOWAS. Doesn't mean that West Africa will not be a part of this meeting. The biggest leaders of West Africa will be here, Macron said. Play that part again, ladies and gentlemen.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I want just to clarify the fact that Western African countries will be present. I mean, President of Senegal, President of Ivory Coast, President of Gabon, President of DRC, and many others will be here. It's hard to say that Western Africa will not be present in this room. You have 3 countries, and I do regret that, which decided, because of the coup and the behaviors of the the military people in charge, to put them aside from the rest of the club, by the way, aside of ECOWAS as well and others.
Wow. This is scary, folks. Macron just said they have decided to put them out of the club because of their misbehavior. Talking about the AES leaders. They have decided to put them out of ECOWAS. My question is, when did France become a member of ECOWAS? When did it happen that France became a decision maker in ECOWAS? Because if I understand him correctly, the decision to kick out Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from the Economic Community of West African States came from not just ECOWAS member countries, but also from France. Is that correct for me to say or not, ladies and gentlemen? Macron had to put this summit together in Africa to send a message to the AES as to who he controls. This is all the summit was about, sending them a message of who is on whose side, ladies and gentlemen. He said the biggest names in West Africa will be here. Yeah, hear that part again.
The biggest leaders of Western Africa will be here.
The biggest leaders of West Africa will be here, he said. And indeed, they were there. That sounds more of a summons to me than an invite, ladies and gentlemen. Macron simply summoned Tinubu, summoned Mahama and Ouattara, who are the biggest leaders of West Africa, to that summit, and indeed they showed up. This summit was non-negotiable. It was a mandate and a command to these three West African heads of states. They could never refuse that invite. Then there was a part of the summit where Macron took over the microphone to demonstrate his absolute authority over the attendees. Have you seen that part, ladies and gentlemen? Take a look.
And we make order.
Excuse me, everybody. Hey. I'm sorry, guys. But it's impossible to speak about culture, to have people like that super inspired coming here, making a speech with such a noise. So this is a total lack of respect. So I suggest, if you want to have bilaterals or speak about somebody else, something else, you have bilateral rooms or you go outside. If you want to stay here, we listen to the people and we play in the same game. Okay? Thank you.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is called leadership.
He calls the heads of states, hey. Then he said, if you want to have discussions, go outside. And you can hear the applause of people in the background. And then the white lady shows up and says this at the end. And this is what we call leadership. But this is funny. This is the height of disrespect, the highest I've seen towards African leaders ever, ladies and gentlemen. She called this leadership. Wait a minute. Lady, does she understand what leadership even means? I'm sure she's a French citizen, so she may be struggling or not conversant with the English language when it comes to leadership. You think leadership is when you rise up and shout at your peers as though they were your kids to get their attention? No, you got it all wrong. That's not leadership. That's arrogance. You think the most pressing need in Africa is a bunch of Gen Zs discussing culture on a presidential platform? So the president should keep quiet? Does she have any idea what's going on in the countries of these African presidents who are sitting there? Does she even have any idea of what's going on in Paris? The unending months of protest and outcries of the French people over inflation and the difficulty of making ends meet in France? Where is the leadership in that for Macron? Where is the leadership of Macron when France cannot survive a day, a single day without Africa? When the entire way of life of the French people is dependent on destroying lives in Africa to keep the French economy afloat? Is that leadership? When for decades, France has to insert itself in the affairs of Africans to be relevant, is that leadership? Listen, that era of French manipulation in Africa is soon coming to an end. Tell Macron to start looking elsewhere. That's how leadership works. Macron wanted to entertain himself at the summit with that cultural discussion, and he expected all the African heads of states to put their issues on hold as he entertains himself or go out of the building. What is more arrogant than this? And this is happening in Africa. This set of African leaders are such a bunch of cowards. Even in 1,000 years, they can never come out of this mindset. You watch President Ruto behaving like a son, meeting a father with candies from work, so excited to see Macron in his country. These presidents are seriously not busy, ladies and gentlemen. They have too much time on their hands to wander around. This explains why Africa is not moving forward. They have too much time on their hands to waste around, ladies and gentlemen. Stop fancying yourself with a French government and Macron. Stay grounded on the ideas we are giving you on this platform every time and elsewhere. Domestic ideas for your countries. You have followed after them for decades. What has been the profit? What is the benefit? Until when will you continue to do things that doesn't add anything sustainable to your economies? If you lack ideas, get in touch with us, with me. Get in touch with the new ideas we have to keep up with what's going on around the world in terms of development. And stop following after Macron. He has no respect for any of you and your people. All he's eyeing, looking for are the resources in your countries. There's pressure on Macron in France, and he needs to do something as soon as possible. That's why he's all over the place for you. Don't be fooled. Wake up, African leaders. Macron may not recognize the AES leaders, but we, the people, surely do. And that's all that matters. Don't allow yourself to be used to attack them. Don't even try it, because we are all watching. Leave them alone. If you think they are illegitimate, just leave them alone and let them be. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. My name is Cyrus in Accra, Ghana. This is Tuntum Network. This is new media. This is a new day to be bold and fight for something that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Long live the AES and all those who work to protect the cause. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe if you like. If you don't, yeah, it's all up to you. It is bye-bye for now.
All right, folks, once again, this is Frank. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wheresoever you are, right? Once again, this is Frank. I am your host. This is the Revolutionary Repatriation Educational Lecture Series of WCC. Yes, I'm so excited this morning. Oh, no, this afternoon, by the way. Okay. Now, today's topic, it says, now, if you see the headline there, right, I didn't write it well because of the limitation of the word. I think it had to be 100 characters, right? If not, Facebook is not going to, entertain it, or YouTube is not going to entertain it. So I wrote it as it is, but I'm going to read it. Now, today's topic, it says, Macron, Emmanuel Macron is the devil. Emmanuel Macron is the devil. And not only Emmanuel Macron, but every nation, every continent that enslaved Africans, that colonized Africa, that raped Africa up its resources, that systematically, directly or indirectly kill or eliminate African democratic leader, African expert, African voices, they are all the devil. So, it says, Emmanuel Macron is the devil. As the Bible says, or speak to says, you are Pan Africanist. Emmanuel Macron is the devil that the Bible speaks of. For Emmanuel Macron to say he is a Pan Africanist or he is a believer of Pan Africanists. Emmanuel Macron is the devil the Bible speaks of. Now, those of you that read the Quran, when you read the Quran, whatsoever they have devil, that's Emmanuel Macron. When you read the Quran, everywhere in the Quran, they have devil, right? Are the Westerners who enslaved African, who colonized Africa, right? Anywhere you read the Quran and it said devil, that devil are referring to European that enslaved African, European that colonized Africa, right? Those are the devil that the Quran speak of. And anywhere you read in the Bible and you hear say devil, 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 right? It is Emmanuel Macron. It was the forefather of Emmanuel Macron. Okay? Those that came from Europe that colonized Africa, enslaved Africans, and then steal African resources, kill African leaders, right? They are the devil. Even the people that killed Gaddafi are the devil. The people that put sanction on Robert Mugabe because Robert Mugabe was taking land, all right, from the colonizer, from the how they call it, enslaver, right? And then giving it to the real people, to the rightful people. And then they put sanction on Robert Mugabe or Zimbabwe. Those people are the devil. The Bible speak of, the Quran speak of. Anything that you believe in and you read it, and where it said devil, put Emmanuel Macron there. Where it said devil, the people that killed Gaddafi, put them there. Where they said devil, the people that enslaved African, put them there. Where they said devil, the people that colonized Africa, put them there. Where they said devil, the people that continue to loot our resources, put them there. Where they said devil, the people that were in the 1884 Berlin Conference, right, and their descendants, put them in our bracket. Where they said devil. Now, let me play a video for us to entertain us. 1 minute video, right? And then we continue. This is WCC. Get your popcorn, get your bag of water, right? Get your soda and come and relax and let's have fun. Because we need to tell these devil. Look, folks, your religion that you believe in, your culture that you believe in, when it said devil, it is not something from the sea. It is not no dragon. It is not no, I don't know how to call it, something like look like cow with the big horn. No, those are just pictures. All right, those are just pictures they put in there. But when it said devil, in a simple term, devil just means someone who deceives you. Devil, it means someone who deceives you, someone who lied to you. That's the definition of devil, a deceiver. If I deceive you, I become a devil because I lied to you. I deceive you from the right thing, okay, to focus on the wrong thing. I gave you the wrong thing and I said this thing is the right thing. That's the devil. If I lie to you, if I deceive you, it means devil. So in that aspect, I am the devil. So we're going to read some things here today and see why we say these people are the devil. The Bible speaks of. You know, when you read the book of Isaiah, it says to you, be careful with the devil, because the devil comes in sweet voice, very softly. But what is in our voice, what is behind our voice is hate. What is in our voice, what is behind our voice is hatred. What is in our voice, what is behind our voice is not sweet. It's not tasty. It's war in our voice. War is behind our voice. What is in our voice is swore. Swore is in our voice. What is in our voice is deadly. Those of you who read the Bible. So let me play something to entertain now 1 minute before we go ahead. I'm in a spirit this morning. No, the spirit of our ancestor, not just spirit, not those demonic spirit, that is spirit of Emmanuel Macron ancestor. No, those spirit can never be part of my spirit. The spirit that enslaved me, colonized me, raped me, killed all my good leaders and stuff, and a spirit that does not want for Africa to rise. Now,
from the roots we rise. Simuza Africa. Simuka, Simuka Africa. Ngati Simuke Africa. Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Angola, Lesotho, Eswatini, Madagascar, Mauritius, Seychelles, Comoros, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea, South Sudan, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Gambia, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, DR Congo, Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Gabon, Central African Republic, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Sao Tome and Principe, Egypt, Morocco, Sudan, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Africa. Simuza, Africa. From the roots we rise. Simuza, Africa.
all right. Now, having played that music, there's a reason why I play that music. Emmanuel Macron, the song you just heard, it was talking about all the countries in Africa. We did not see France in there. We did not hear France in there. We did not hear any European nation in our music. All the countries all the countries that were named, they are all on the African continent, the beautiful continent. Now, I'm going to start with a video as we usually do. Be with me, folks, be with me. The reason why today I'm talking about this, many of you have heard it on various platforms, right? Now, but this is a platform that we go with different dimension. We detail it a little bit and put some kind of a historical flavor behind it for people to understand or for people to overstand. Now, Emmanuel Macron said he is a Pan Africanist. Wow. You know, it would be so naive if we allowed Emmanuel Macron to walk away with this. We will be so naive if we allowed Emmanuel Macron, the devil, to walk away with this. Emmanuel Macron said he is a true believer of a Pan-Africanist. He is a Pan-Africanist, just like William Ruto. Folks, Who is Emmanuel Macron to define what a Pan-Africanist is, or who is a Pan-Africanist? Because as far as we know or concerned, William Ruto is not a Pan-Africanist. So if Macron can say he is a Pan-Africanist like William Ruto, he's just telling us William Ruto is his slave. Then we understand when Macron said he is a Pan-Africanist. What he was telling us that William Ruto is his puppet. By the way, as we said here before, if they say you are a puppet to something, it means you are a dog. It means you are a pet. P-E-T, pet. But right? What happened here is they try to make it look sweet. They try to make it look nice. Instead of them saying pet. Because listen, folks, while we're an African leader, right, sit there and Emmanuel Macron say, you are my pet. What will an African leader say that? And Emmanuel Macron said, you are my pet. You see it? Whatever Ruto, in fact, it will make him angry. But they try to make it look sweet. Instead of saying pet, it said puppet. Did you see that? P-U-P-P-E-T, and then P-E-T, pet. So, in the French language, P-U-P, it means what? Little, small, and P, poop, right? Small, P-U-P, right? So, and then they put a P-E-T there, pet. It means little pet, small pet. African leaders take pride in being called small pet by Western government, by Western leader. African leaders take pride in being called pet. Small pet. In French, P-U-P means small. And then P-E-T, as we all know, is pet. So small pet, little pet. Is that hard to understand? So in our war, if Emmanuel Macron was saying he is a true Pan-Africanist, he is a believer of Pan-Africanism, just like William Ruto, Emmanuel Macron was telling us William Ruto is his small pet. William Ruto is his pet. And not only William Ruto, the Nigerian president, Tinubu is a pet to William Ruto. That's what William Ruto was saying. And that's why most of these Western governments and leaders continue to say these African leaders who continue to be slaves, they are puppet to the West. That means they are pet to the West. Now, what do you have in your horses as pet? You have cat. So that means they are telling us African leaders who refuse to stand like Abraham Touare, they are cat. That means African leaders who refuse to stand firm like the Saharian leader, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. If you are not like those people, the Western government or leaders are saying you are a dog. And if you are a dog, that means you are their pet. Now, having said that, you understand. Let's continue. This is WCC. We are not here to make war. All right? If we sit here and allow Emmanuel Macron to run with that, then we are part of the contribution of the new colonization that is about to take place. And which, of course, is not even going to happen. It's not going to take place. If Emmanuel Macron is dreaming, even Washington, D.C., if they are ever dreaming about it, they should get it off the table. Even Europe, if they are dreaming about it, they should get it off the table. This is Africa time. Let's get a little bit into history because we want to make Emmanuel Macron said the interest of France the interest of Europe is in line with the interest of Africa. Oh my God, don't believe me. Emmanuel Macron said he was on an African continent and African people did not check his out. He was on an African continent. And when I say African people, I'm saying the leader. I'm not saying the common man there. I'm saying the leader that went to that conference. Those puppets, those pets that went to that conference. Emmanuel Macron stood in front of them and told them the interest of Africa, the interest of Europe, France, it is the same as the interest of Africa. Emmanuel Macron stood in front of the 30 African leaders. And Emmanuel Macron said, the history of France, the history of Europe, the history of the West is the same as the history of Africa. God damn it. I dare you. You Africans sat down there and kept silent and were all muted. Emmanuel Macron stood in front of you and said to you people, the history of France, the history of Europe, the history of the West, and their interest is the same as Africa. Okay. All right, folks. This is a little bit a short history of Africa. All right, it's 28 minutes, but we are not going to play the 28 minutes because we have a lot to talk about. But I will play maybe 5 minutes just to see where we are heading. Because when Emmanuel Macron said the history of France, the history of Europe or the West is the same as the history of Africa. And then he also said the interest of Europe, the interest of France is the same as the interest of Africa. It's the same as the interest of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. I understand. I understand. Let's play something here. We are just going to play 5 minutes so that you can get a concept. And then as we continue, all right? Be with me. This is WCC. We are not here for content. We are not content creator. We don't create content, okay? We come here to educate. And that's why we take long time here because we are not here to give you, too many things. And then, no. We are here for education. We are here to show you so that you can, it's like we are all disciple. We are all disciple, all right, for our belongingness. What belongs to us? We are all disciple of the truth. We are all disciple of the truth. Okay? We are not disciple of the lies. We are all disciple of the truth. That means we are disciple to expose the truth. The days of being in contact with the white man, let's put it this way, because everything that we face today on the African continent as black people, it is the cause of the white man. We are not here to mention anything. All right? We are not here to mention anything. Because when they first came to the African continent on the west coast of Africa, we thought they were human beings. We thought they were human beings. We thought they were human beings. But now knowing they were the devil the Bible speaks of. Not knowing they are the Bible okay, or the devil the Bible speak of. Anywhere in your religion you read devil, put them in there. They are the devil, and they continue to displace it. So when it came on the west coast of Africa, when it came on our continent, we thought they were human beings. Despite they've been read, we still saw them as human beings because they have ear, they have nose, they have mouth. Okay, they can breathe, they can feel, they have 2 hands, they have 2 legs. I mean, everything that the black men have, they have it. So we thought they were human beings, but just came from different parts of the world. What then happened? What then happened? Because of our hospitality, we introduced to them our culture, our way of life, our secret, our sacred places. And after that, what they did? Let me not waste your time. Let's get into it.
Before you scroll past this, I need you to stay for just 60 seconds because what I'm about to show you changes everything you thought you knew about the slave trade. Not a little, everything. Most people think the transatlantic slave trade was about one thing: cheap labor, millions of African bodies shipped across the ocean to build plantations and economies. That is the story every textbook tells, and that story is only half true. Because there is another layer, a layer that powerful institutions spent centuries trying to bury, a layer hidden inside a document, a real physical document that was locked away in a Portuguese royal archive for over 400 years. And when researchers finally cracked it open, they didn't find a shipping manifest, they didn't find a labor contract, they found a list, a hit.
Okay, now if you look keenly, right, what is in here? If you look keenly, what do you see? You will see Angola here. Angola, you see right here? That's Angola, right? If you look keenly, you will also see Dahomey, the kingdom of Dahomey. If you look keenly, you will also see Benin, modern day Benin, right? If you look keenly, you will also see Ashanti. This is in Ghana. Those of you know about the Ashanti kingdom, the Ashanti Union. This is in Ghana, right? All right. And then you see Angola here. And then you will see Congo. You see Congo right here. Congo, you see it, right? But you see where they have all the X, 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 X. All right. Now, Emmanuel Macron said the history of Europe, the history of France, the history of the West is the same as the history of Africa. Folks, we are not going to play the entire video. I want you to understand something. I think it is about time to tell the white men. I'm being specific here. I'm not saying Europe. If I say Europe, you already know. All right? So we be specific here. Because when they were doing this, it was not just Portugal alone. The entire West. There was no black men in here when they were doing these things. There was no black men. So that's why I'm being specific, the white men. Because the reason why I said the white man is this. Still today, even though we are getting to know them, but majority of our people, when they still see the white man, they think it is the representation of God. When they still see that white body, that pale skin, they think it is the They still think I need to get some water. They still think it is the representation of God. All right? That's what they believe. So anytime they see the white man, they think someone has come to redeem them or to rescue them. But if you look at history, these people have never ever redeemed us. They have never ever been there for us. Never. If you look at history, they are so crafty. They know how to come out in different ways, in different form. They are crafty. So, if you see here, right? These are kingdom. These are kingdom. These are kingdom that were in Africa. And today we still have the Ashanti kingdom, or the Ashanti. So it's still there. Today we still have the how they call it, the Benin, right? We still have the Dahomey. But in fact, not the Dahomey. Dahomey is gone now. Okay? But and then we still have Congo. All right? We still have them there. We still have Angola. Okay? But the name at that time, it was not Angola. All right? So these are things that was planned way back by the white man against the black man. We are giving history here. Our history with the white man is not the same. Will never be the same and can never be the same. Because what they have done to us, we have never done it to them. Never. Let's continue here.
List with names, with bloodlines, with specific African kingdoms marked for destruction, not because of their land, not because of their gold, but because of who they were descended from. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to see the African continent and the history of slavery with completely different eyes. Let's go back, way back, to the early 1500s. Most Americans, when they picture Africa at this time, picture a continent of isolated villages, no kingdoms, no written records, no organized power. That image is not history. That image is propaganda. In the early 15th century,
now, if you look at the pictures in the first place, and you look at the dress code, right? That's the kind of dress code in the Bible. And that's the kind of dress code, right? Even in the Quran, right? That's the kind of dress code, even in a movie that they play, that white people can play and they say they are, God came from their lineage or whatsoever, right? That's the kind of dress code. So you see the dress code we had, African had back then. What am I saying here? When the white man came, we introduced our way of life, our culture to them. They stole it. Anyway, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. We'll get to something. We'll get to something. I don't want to go ahead. We'll get to something. And then I will explain that part.
West and Central Africa was home to some of the most sophisticated political structures on the planet. The Kingdom of Benin in present-day Nigeria had walls that archaeologists now estimate were 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China. The Mali Empire had already produced Mansa Musa, a king so wealthy that when he made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he accidentally crashed the gold market of the entire Mediterranean world just by spending his own personal money. The Songhai Empire had universities, real universities, in Timbuktu.
So again, you see the dress code. You see the dress code, right? Now, again, let me say this. So, before the white man came to Africa, we were already using gold. We were mining gold already. They did not teach us how to mine gold. In fact, They were surprised when they came to the African continent. They couldn't understand, how did we get those things? How did we process it? How did we extract that from the ground? They didn't teach us. So, it baffled me, and that is why we need to go back to history. We have these same resources, and that is why today now you see Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Because you see, the Mali you see today, Mali is a historical site. The Niger you see today, Niger is a historical site. The Burkina Faso you see today, Burkina Faso is a historical site. For example, Mali, you had the Timbuktu, where Mensa Musa, the man you see in the video, came from. So, today, we believe that the only way our resources can be extracted or processed or whatsoever, it have to be the white man. The black man, apart from Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, but all the other countries in Africa, they do not believe that a black man, an African man, can process it gold, can how they call it, get it gold from the soil, it uranium, it oil, nothing. The African man does not believe it, apart from Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The rest of the nation in Africa, they do not believe that a black man is capable of mining its own resources, but it has to be an European mining continent. Meanwhile, history tells us these people never knew anything about how to extract the resources from the soil. We did it. History tells us we did it. History tells us we were engineered by ourselves. We built by ourselves. They came, they saw pyramid. But they took that credit away from you. They said some alien came from space. You know why we believe that alien came from space? Because we still relied on the white man knowledge that if not the white man, we can succeed. And with that mentality, with that behavior, right, we will always believe what the white men say about everything they saw in Africa was alien. So does that mean anything that came from Europe, alien came and put it there? As long as we continue to believe in the system of the white man of Europe, we will always believe that everything that pre-existed in Africa was alien that came from space or different place and came and put it there. They took that credit from us. So that means it was alien that even educated their great philosopher or their great scientists like Socrates, like Alexander. All those people land in Africa. So alien taught them. You see, because they do not want to give you the credit. They do not want to give you the credit. Julius Caesar, all those people land in Africa because they do not want to give you the credit. They say they went there, that alien did it, that alien constructed them. But they can't tell where the alien came from. They only say alien came from sky, alien came from space. But you know what? They have been to space. They can't see alien. They have been to the moon. They can't see alien. They have been there. So where the alien came from, they have been in space. But they can't see alien that came from there and came and built those things in Africa. Today, when Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing it, then we have the rest of the other African nations who are ruled by pets. Yes, puppet means pet. Who are ruled or governed by pet. Those leaders still believe that it is the white man that is coming to save them. But let's continue here.
Two, scholars were studying astronomy, law, mathematics, and theology, while Europe was still burning people at the stake for asking the wrong questions. This is the world that the Portuguese sailed into, and here is what most people do not know. The Portuguese were not the first Europeans to arrive, randomly stumbling upon Africa. They were sent, with specific instructions from the highest levels of the Catholic Church and
Now, you see, you see history, right? Let me say this. People say history repeat. No, history just, evolve. It don't repeat, it evolve, right? It evolve. They are crafty. That's why when you read the Bible says, right, crafted counsel. All right, the white men, they are so sophisticated. When you hear crafted counsel, it's them. The European is them. So you see here, anytime you see these people on the African continent, it is something that they have sat down to where they come from and then planned before going to the African continent. If you see Emmanuel Macron, you think it was William Ruto that had the conference in Africa? It was Emmanuel Macron. It was Emmanuel Macron who had a conference in Africa. You see, these Westerners don't just get out and go to Africa because they love Africans. No, they don't just go there because they so much love Africans. They so much love the continent. No way, that's not the case. And by the way, they went on the African continent not because Africa was poor. They went on the African continent not because Africa had no resources. That they went to give Africa resources. They went on the African continent not because we were primitive. They went on the African continent not because we never had civilizations. You seen the narrative, you seen those pictures. The truth is, these people went on the African continent for a specific reason, not to help us, but to destroy us. Look, history just evolves. It don't repeat, it evolves. It just keeps evolving in different form. Those of you who believe in the Roman Catholic, let's continue here. I don't want to waste my time. Like I said, 5 minutes.
the Portuguese crown, and those instructions were not simply, "Go find people to work our fields." The instructions were far more specific than that, and far more disturbing. To understand what the Portuguese were doing, you have to understand who Portugal was. In 1492, Spain expelled its Jewish population in what became known as the Alhambra Decree. Hundreds of thousands of Sephardic Jews were forced out. Many fled to Portugal. Many converted under pressure. Many scattered across North Africa and into sub-Saharan Africa over the following generations. This is documented history, not conspiracy. The descendants of those scattered communities brought with them something the Portuguese crown became obsessed with.
So, let's clarify something here before you be thinking at that time in Portugal, it was a white man. No. You remember in the Bible, right? It says the Israelites are scattered all throughout the corner of the world, right? Now, the people you see in Portugal at that time, as the narrator is saying, that the Portuguese ran out, they were Africans. They were black people, all right? To make you understand, they were what? Black people, all right? So there's a history going on here. And that's why you see the map that they were now white people. So white people did not chase white people out from Portugal. They were black people. The same way, right? In today, the modern day Israel, right? There were black people there, and the same Jew, how they call it, a Jewish that you see today, right? The Jewish, all right? They say European when they drove them out and sit down there, right? The same way in Argentina you see today, right? There were black people there. I mean, black people on our play, black people ruled our play, all right? But the white people again came and ran them out, killed them, slaughtered them. You think when Argentina vetoed the United Nations, how they call it, resolution to make slavery or whatsoever thing as the greater humanity against the greater crime against humanity. Argentina voted against. You think it was for what? They know the history. Argentina know the history. So if it becomes the greatest crime committed against humanity, Argentina know what they are going to pay to black people. Argentina know what she's going to pay, the reparation she had to pay. All right. So it was black people they chased. Imagine the whole Europe was ruled by black people. Okay. So there's a time period. So that coordination, that relation, all right, is where they are coming. Okay. When they got ready to go to the African continent in the 1600s. All right. So the correlation is there. So you're going to see the link. Okay. About then how can we get whatsoever slave and things, right? So they found a correlation that, okay, these people came from somewhere. Where did they come from? Africa. Okay. Now, what you see there, right, in our 14th century or 13th century that they are saying here, right, that it was deliberate, okay, by the Roman Catholic Church when they sat down, they started writing, right? That also going to relate in the 1884 Berlin Conference. Now, what you see this time period, what they were doing there, right? It was about how they can enslave Africans. That's the first aspect. It was deliberate. It was something calculated. Now, after that, then we jump to 1884. After they enslaved African, they became rich African, built, their place, their farm, whatsoever, right? They decided now, right? We don't need slavery again, right? What we need now is the resources, and we don't have resources. Where can we get the resources? It's Africa, right? So then again, the same thing they did, all right? As you can see, they're sitting down there, writing, all right? Brainstorming, what they should do to go to the African continent. They did the same thing with the 1884 Berlin Conference. We're going to get to that later. So folks, do not trust these people. Do not trust them. They are coming back again. And you know, the same way we are saying, oh, our ancestors, what did they do at that time? What did they do? What did they did? The day you die as a black man, you go. Your children too will come and say, what did our ancestors do? And they will be pointing finger at you as well. So people are William Ruto, Tinubu, because if the next generation come and they read history and they see that William Ruto was a president of Kenya who ruled for, I don't know, 12, I don't know their presidential term limit, but 12 years or 24 years. And then they see William Ruto, they read history and they see William Ruto doing all of these things. William Ruto now will be part of their ancestor. And they will be blaming William Ruto. What did William Ruto do? What he did it? What did he do that? Right? Even Tinubu. Tinubu will be judged the same way again by the next generation. Why would Tinubu do this? Why our ancestors do this? They saw us. They didn't like us. I mean, look at history. I mean, they saw all these things. They learned all these things. And then they continue to stay believing the white man. That's what's going to happen. How they call it? Ouattara from Cote d'Ivoire. The same thing. But why did Ouattara say it and then supported France? Right? He said that and supported France against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso that was fighting for African freedom, for African liberation. Why did he train terrorists? Why did he help France to train terrorists to go against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? And then the same thing will go to Benin Republic. The same thing will go to them again. The next generation will blame them and say, why did that generation say it? And watch Benin president at that time supported France and trained terrorists in Benin to go fight Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Why did it happen? Why did Tinubu allow the United States to have military base here? Why did Tinubu allow the U.S. to start bombing in Nigeria? They will blame us. Why did Tinubu allow the United States to dictate to them to go negotiate with terrorists? They will blame them because that's what happened in Nigeria. The Nigerian dictate. I mean, the Nigerian go and negotiate with the terrorists when the terrorists go and kidnap hundreds of Nigerian girls. When the terrorists go and kill Nigerians in school, bomb school and kill them. Look, go and read Buhari Yeah, that was Buhari. Because after General Goodluck, that was Buhari. Go and read how General Goodluck got off power. You think it was by Nigerian people decided that we don't want General Goodluck? No, it was planned by the CIA, by Washington, D.C., along with Buhari. And part of that agreement was Buhari to give the national defense out. And Buhari signed it. Buhari signed 8. Buhari signed 8. So that's why Nigeria does not have a national defense. And we continue to say that Nigeria is a superpower, but Nigeria cannot defend herself. That is why France sat down there. Emmanuel Macron said he's a Pan Africanist, but he sat down there and all of Nigeria, who knew Nigeria have Air Force? Sat down there all of Nigeria to use Air Force to go and for a coup in Benin Republic. Because Benin Republic is a colony to France. And Emmanuel Macron said he's a true Pan-Africanist. We will deal with that devil. Don't worry. We're going to get to that devil as we will deal with him. Emmanuel Macron is a devil. We will deal with him. A devil is a deceiver. A devil is the one who lied to you. And Emmanuel Macron is a deceiver. We will deal with him. Relax. We'll discuss that. Okay? So the next generation, even this generation, will continue to blame those leaders. So what you see here around this time with the Roman Catholic Church, what they were doing in Portugal, they did the same thing in the 1884 Berlin Conference in Germany. During this time period here, you see this white guy, this devil sitting down here. It was a time they decided to go to the African continent for slave. All right? Now, when they decided to divide Africa in 1884, they did the same thing. They went on the table. They went on the table and sat down on the table again.
With tracking bloodlines, specifically bloodlines connected to the ancient tribe of Judah. Now, let me be very clear here. This is where history gets complicated, and I want to be careful and accurate. I am not making a claim about religion. I am not making a claim about race. I am presenting what historians and archaeologists have documented, which is that the Portuguese crown in the 15th century was deeply invested in locating, cataloging, and in some cases eliminating specific royal and priestly lineages that had survived from ancient Near Eastern communities and had migrated into sub-Saharan.
Now, let's look at history again. What you see here, right? You see, the Bible is not for everybody. And this is what we continue to say. And people feel, oh, no, it's true. The Bible is not for everybody. And that is why even the people in Israel, the Jewish, they don't believe in the Bible. They know it's not for everybody. And they know they are not in that Bible. They don't believe in it. If you think the people in that white people in Israel, they pray to, oh God, they don't pray. They pray to their white Jesus. They don't pray to, that's why they don't read the Bible. They don't obey that Bible. What I'm telling you here is, you see what you see as Bible and thing, right? It was a way of life of certain group of people. It was a constitution. That Bible you see, it was people constitution. It was a law. It was law that was given to a specific group of people. All right? That Bible you see today, it was a law given to a specific group of people. And when those people disobey those laws, right? When those people disobey those laws, their God went against them. It was a constitution. It was law. It was way of life. It was culture for a specific group of people. It was not meant for everybody. And today, that Bible is still not for everybody. And it will never be for everybody. Because it is a culture. It is a culture that was practiced by a certain group of people.
Africa over centuries. The reasons they gave were religious and political, the methods they used were devastating, and the evidence is written down. Now let's talk about the document itself. And here I want to be precise, because this video deals with real historical research, not folklore. Portuguese colonial archives, particularly those housed in the Arquivo Histórico Ultramarino in Lisbon, contain thousands of documents from the 16th century that have never been fully translated into English and have never been made accessible to mainstream audiences. Among these documents are royal dispatches called regimentos, which were detailed instruction sets given to Portuguese captains before they departed on voyages along the African coast. Some of these regimentos were purely commercial, but a significant number, particularly dating from the 1530s through the 1580s, contained something unusual. They contained ethnographic intelligence, meaning the Portuguese crown already had information about.
So again, right, you see the picture you see right there, right? That was in ancient Africa. So you see, they said we did not have civilization. But you see the picture you see. So these are the devil. Okay, these white folks, these are the devil. So you see what they are doing. So they are mapping. This is Africa. That picture you see, they say Africa have no civilization. They brought civilization. But the reality here is the white people came and destroyed African civilization. So European civilization or European history, right, is not the same as African history. Because first of all, Africans have never destroyed European history or civilization. It is the European that came and destroyed African civilization and stole African civilization, learned from Africa and refused to give the credit to us. In fact, they learned from us and they destroy us to destroy the evidence. So you see the map in from them, right? The map that they are looking at, that was in Africa, that building, that structure you see. That's Africa. And they are mapping specific places, what they are going to do. So, to Emmanuel Macron, European interest is different from African interest because European interest is to destroy Africa. European interest is to destroy Africans. European interest is to continue to bring proxy war on Africans. European interest is for Africa and her descendants to never rise. That is also in the 1884 Berlin Conference. That was their closing statement. Look, folks, history don't repeat. History just been evolving. This is this 14th century, the 15th century, the 16th century. All right? And then when it went to 1884, right? They repeated the same thing that Africa and her descendants will never rise. History don't repeat. History just been evolving. And the reason why we continue to allow history to evolve, we don't want to learn the truth. That's number one. And number two, we don't want to accept the truth. Number one is we don't want to learn the truth. And number two is we don't want to accept the truth. And number three is we don't want to apply the truth. Even if we learn the truth, we do not want to apply the truth. But on the other hand, the other people, you know what they do? They understand and they learn the truth. They understand and they accept the truth. They understand and they continue to apply the truth. And that's why they always evolve. Let's continue.
Specific communities, specific lineages, and specific religious structures within African kingdoms before the ships ever left port. Where did they get this intelligence? From missionaries, from Jewish converts known as conversos, who had family and
Now, The narrator talk about missionary, right? And I paused the video for a reason so that I can enlighten you a little bit. Because African people, when we stay here in today contemporary Africa, when we hear missionary, we think it means savior. We think it means people who come to recognize, or people who come to feel, or people who come to do this whatsoever. But you see, missionary does not mean they are coming for you. Listen to the word mission. Forget about the suffix or the prefix. Forget about the suffix, not the prefix. Forget about the suffix that is being added to it. Look at mission. Ask yourself, what is your mission in life? What is your mission in life? Now, if you come up with your mission in life and you began to embark on that mission, then you now become a Nerean missionary, because you are embarking on a mission. You have a mission and you embark on that mission, you become a missionary because you are on a journey to fulfill a mission. And if you are on a journey to fulfill a mission, then you become a missionary. And then your mission on our journey is not for the people you're going to meet. It's for you, your benefit, your descendant, and where you are coming from. Now, if you are going on that mission, you have already calculated what to do to go to succeed. What that means is, if it costs to deceive the people because you are on a mission and you want to succeed, you have to deceive the people you're going to meet there. If you have to kill, you have to kill the people you're going to meet there, because you are on a mission to succeed, and then you become a missionary. Whenever you are on a journey for a mission, you are a missionary to that journey. So that means, Africans, missionary is not always a good term. Missionary are people who have mission, but they will not tell you their intent. They will not tell you their mission. So as we see today, Emmanuel Macron is a missionary. He has a mission. As we see today, these Europeans, they are missionary. They have a mission. They have always had mission. They have always been missionary. And they will always be missionary, because their forefathers told them, you guys got to make sure Africa and her descendants will never rise. Because if they rise, France will become a third world country. The Western nation will become a third world country. Europe, third world country. And we see that today. Aren't we seeing it? So they are on a mission. So when you hear the word missionary, don't always think it's a good thing. No, it is not a good thing. Missionary is not a good thing. Missionary is not a good thing. There are people who are on a mission. And when you are on a mission, you are on a journey, you are a missionary, because you are on a journey for a mission. Are you getting it? Let's continue here. And this war, also, you will see it in the 1884 Berlin Conference again, missionary. So what I'm telling you, will see it. So the history of the West is not the same as the history of Africa. The interest of the West is not the same as the interest of Africa. The interest of Africa is not to see Europe poor or Europe. Our interest is just for Africa to rise, Africa to take a place, for African children to enjoy their resources. But the interest of Europe is to put Africa in a perpetual condition, to continue to explore their resources. That's the interest. And that's European history. The interest of Europe or the West is to create proxy war on the African continent, to continue to loot the African resources. That is their history, and that is their interest. We're going to get into it. Now, somehow I will take this video out, all right? So we can continue, because we have a lot to explain. But at least you have getting the foundation, all right, that Europe and Africa will never coexist. I mean, this is hard to say. And let me repeat myself again. Let me repeat this again. African people, black people, the reason why things continue to go against us is because we fail to listen to history. We fail to read history. And even if we read history, we fail to accept history. We fail to accept it. Now, even if we accept it, we fail to apply it. We fail to apply it. But you see, the other people, the European or the white people, they always learn their history. And they always accept their history. And they always will implement their history. Are you getting it? So Europe and Africa can never be the same. Because what Europe have done to the African continent is inhumane. Africa have never done it to the white man. But what the white men have done to the African people is inhumane. It's ungodly. And the black men have never done it to them. So the history are not the same. Our interests are not the same. If our interests are the same, why is the West? Why is Washington, D.C.? Why is Europe? Why is France going against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Why? We'll tell you. Let's
trade connections deep inside Africa, and from a network of informants that had been building for decades before the large-scale slave trade.
So you see here, network of informer that have been building before, right, the next slave trade, before the transatlantic slave trade. Network of informer. Today, what are those forms of network of informer? The media. The media. The media. So you see, that is why they don't like Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Because those network of informer, that is why today Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are kicking out those media. Because those are the network of informer. So you see, history don't repeat. History just evolve. History evolve. These people are so crafty. They are crafted counsel.
Began. Let me ask you something, and I want you to think about this honestly. If this was purely about labor, why did the Portuguese need a list of bloodlines? Why did they need maps of priestly lineages? Why did their documents specifically distinguish between those fit for labor and those who must not be allowed to reproduce? Think about that. Now, let's address the part of this story that most people have never been taught, the connection between ancient Judah and the kingdoms of West and Central Africa. This is not mythology. This is documented through multiple independent lines of historical evidence. First, the Lemba people of Southern Africa. The Lemba are a Bantu-speaking people who have maintained for generations that they are descended from ancient Semitic traders who migrated from the north thousands of years ago. For a long time, historians dismissed this as
All right, folks. I mean, the video is so long and it's good, right? But I can't show all because we have long time to go. I have other things to discuss about. But again, So you see the history again, right? The Bible, as you see today, is not for everybody. It is a culture of way of life for specific group of people, and it will never be for everybody. All right. And the truth here is the other people believe in it. I mean, not believe in it, but they believe that the Bible is not for everybody. All right. It is not a religion that is for everybody. Okay. It is for a specific group of people. It is a way of life for a specific group of people. It is a constitution. It is a law, okay, that was given to a specific group of people by their forefather. All right. But again, so just a history that you have seen how black people have been hunted by white people. So the history are not the same. We have to let Emmanuel Macron know that they are the devil. That same Bible speak of. That same Bible warn a descendant about the white man, about Emmanuel Macron, that he is the devil. They are the devil. Be careful with them. And today, when we see them on the African continent, we have to be careful with them because they are synagogues of Satan. They are the devil, the same religion, the same law, the same constitution talk about. Be careful with them. And then another video to remind them about their behavior. Because what we experience today, the history we experience today, and the interest we are fighting for, right? It was caused by Emmanuel Macron forefather. It was caused by Emmanuel Macron great-great-grandfather. It was caused by Washington, D.C. great-great-great-grandfather. It was caused by European great-great-great-grandfather. And up to now, they maintain it. So we have to let these people know that they are the devil. They don't like Africa. They hate Africa, but they love African resources. They are pretender. They are the one the Bible speak of. Be careful with them. They are crafty. Be careful with them, with their wars. Be careful just because their war is smooth like butter or oil. That doesn't mean truth is in their heart. It means war and sword is in their hand. They are coming for war. They are pretender. They are deceiver. They are devil. They are demon. So Emmanuel Macron is a devil. To come and say he is a true Pan-Africanist. How can you be a true Pan-Africanist and then you hate Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? How can you be a true Pan-Africanist and then every year 500 billion of African money in taxes go to France? But look at those nations, they lavish in poverty. How can you be a Pan-Africanist when the uranium of Niger power the entire Europe? But Niger does not have current. Africa does not have current. How can you be a true Pan-Africanist when the gold reserve of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are in France? But the people of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso does not have gold reserve, does not even see their gold, does not even smell their gold. They have to go to France to see the void of where their gold are. And it is not even owned by them. It is owned by France. How can you be a Pan-Africanist when your educational system is built on the back of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and the rest of the other nation that you call Francophone? But people in France, they have good access to healthcare, good access to education, good access to road. But when their resources in Africa does not build, but it build and empower Africa. And then when these same people leave that region, they go to France, and then you send them back. You say they are not citizens. But you say you Pan-Africanist. You look at these people die and lavish in poverty, you say you Pan-Africanist. You support terrorist activities in Africa, then you say you Pan-Africanist. You are the devil the Bible speaks of, Emmanuel Macron. And everyone that look like you, they are the devil. Everyone that think like you, they are the devil. Everyone that do things like you on the African continent, they are the devil the Bible speaks of. Emmanuel Macron, you are a devil. You are a demon, Emmanuel Macron.
When the colonizers came to Africa, we didn't have the issue of color. Black and white did not exist in our languages. We were Africans. The missionaries were sent in with specific instructions to make the Africans believe that everything African was bad and everything European was better and more desirable. They put in motion a process of making us dislike that which was ours and go all out to embrace what the new invader was bringing to our beloved continent. I have to give it to them. They did a very good job at doing that. They hit us where it hurt the most, the mind. The missionaries taught us about white angels. The missionaries taught us about the devil who was black. The missionaries are white, like the angels. And that when we go to church, we must worship the white angels. And definitely want nothing to do with the black devil who looks like us. Subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging. That's where we began the self-hate, the mistrust of each other, the lack of appreciation, an idea that is coming from your brother, an idea that is coming from your sister, because we are taught to dislike anything to do with us. That, my brothers and sisters, was level one, number one level of destroying the African, the mind. Then they followed it with colonization, a systematic way of saying now that we have made the African believe that everything African was bad and everything European was better. Let's take it to the next level. So it is that they met in Berlin and decided to chop up our country, our continent rather. So it is they met in Berlin, Germany, at the invitation of the then Chancellor of Germany, Bismarck, specifically to come up with a strategy that once again would see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. They spent 4 months, 4 cold months in Berlin, Germany, from November of 1884 to February of 1885. And by the time they were done, our Africa had been chopped up into the tiny little countries that we see today. Countries that were intentionally divided in such a way that individually they will never survive. That individually they are easy to exploit. The whole purpose was to see to it that they can continue to exploit the rich natural resources that we were endowed with in our beloved continent. A united Africa is an Africa that is difficult to exploit. An Africa that speaks with one voice is an Africa that is difficult to exploit. So it is what they came up with, their strategy of 1884 during the Berlin Conference is what gave us the Africa that we have today. An Africa that has countries like Benin, countries like Togo, countries like Central African Republic, Niger. As a matter of fact, all African countries. Then they turned around and said, okay, here we are. You are independent countries. Of course, during the Berlin Conference and during colonization, every one of those countries was controlled from those capitals in Europe until independence. When our Pan African fathers began to say there's something wrong with this picture, we can no longer continue to be subservient in our own continent. So they began to push back. And this is what led us to get the fake independence, where we were given political liberation, limited political liberation to this day. But what they kept and never let go, which brings me to issue number 3 of the root, was the economic liberation. You see, you got to understand that when we were under colonization, the companies that ran the economies of all African countries were companies that belonged to the colonizer. If a country was colonized by the British, the majority of the companies that controlled the economies of those countries were British. If you're colonized by the Germans, German countries, German companies. If you are colonized by the French, French companies, and so forth. That, my brothers and sisters, they never give up. They still continue to control the economies of their former colonies to this day. Let's go back and summarize where we are so far. The issues of the root. They messed with our mind. Berlin Conference. They divided us up, chopped up into tiny little economies that simply cannot survive on their own.
All right, so again, you see, the history of Africa can never be as France or as Europe. Because the truth here is, what we experienced was caused by Washington, D.C., NATO as well. We just saw Gaddafi, death, right? Africa have never gone against any Western leader to remove them or to assassinate them. Never. It have never happened. Africa have never put sanction on any Western nation because those Western nations did not agree to African foreign policy. Never. It have never happened. Africa have never come to the West for anything, and the West said no. And then Africa get angry and say, you know what? We're going to veto you. It have never happened. The Western nation veto African interest. France, you have veto power. Europe have veto power, right? So therefore, France have veto power. African, as a continent, we do not have veto power. There is no African nation in the world that have veto power. So how can the history of African be as the history of European? How can the history of African be as the history of Westerners? How can the history of a black man be as the history of the white man? When the white man have veto power to veto anything, when the white man have its military army to defend itself, when a black man does not have no military power to defend itself, no black nation anywhere have military power. So how can our history be the same thing? How? How can our history be the same thing? How can our interest be the same thing? How? When France want to go buy weapon anywhere, France can buy weapon anywhere. But African nation cannot buy weapon anywhere because Europe and America told other nations not to sell weapons to African nations. And we say true all around here, we see it. So how can our interest be the same? How can our history be the same? When we do not have place to go buy weapons. But when you manufacture your own weapon, you sell weapons. You buy weapon where you want to buy weapon. You sell weapon where you want to sell weapon. But you tell other people not to sell weapon to African nations. You put arm embargo on African nation, but you do not have arm embargo on you. How can our history be the same, William Ruto? How can the history of Africa be the same as the history of the West or Europe? How? It can never be. Our interests are not the same, and they don't even come close. So it will be very delusional if Africans sit down and watch you with a root of the devil to come and say the history of Africa is the same as the history of the West. No. The reason why France is like that today is because Africans are rational. It's because Africans are saying we do not want our 500 billion every year to go to France. We do not want our uranium every year to go to France to empower Europe while our people live in poverty. It's because the Sahel nation are saying we need healthcare. And if there's a healthcare in Africa, then that means healthcare in France will diminish. If there's a good educational system in Africa, that means educational system in France will diminish, will depreciate, will go down, and that go to the rest of the nation that enslaved and colonized Africa. So how can our history be the same? Because if only you leave Africa alone, for Africa to do a thing, whether Europe develop, whether Europe do what, it will never do nothing to Africa. And the truth is, Africa do not, how they call it, depend on you. You depend on Africa. And as we can see it today now. The truth is, Africa do not need Washington, D.C. Let us speak the truth. Because sometimes other people will be thinking, oh, it's a global war. What do you mean? And we can never exist. No, we existed when Europe was not there. We survived when Europe was not there. We had great civilization when they were not dead. They came and they destroyed our civilization. In fact, history tells us there are scientists, Socrates Euphrates land there in Africa, Alexander the Great. I mean, you name them. All of them were in Africa. That's where they got their education from. So Africa do not need them. They need Africa. And we see that today. When Africa began to turn 8 cheeks on the other side, you see what happened to their nation. You see what happened to their continent. Today, the same people, Europe and America, Washington, D.C., will tell African nation to not allow with China. But yesterday, what did we see last week? We saw Donald Trump in China. Why did he go there? Because their economy is scratching. The American economy is scratching. It cannot survive without the Chinese technology. It cannot survive without the Chinese labor because most of the equipment are coming from China. What did Donald Trump go there for? But they will tell Africans, China is bad. Do not make deal with China. Do not collaborate with China. China is there. China coming to do this. China coming to do this. But yesterday, we saw Donald Trump in China. So our history is not the same. You now see Africans coming to tell Washington, D.C., don't go to China, don't make deal with China, don't collaborate with China. No, Africa don't do that. But while always people want to dictate to Africa, no, our history are not the same. Our interests are not the same. They have never been the same. And will never be the same. Who gave you the audacity? Yesterday, what did Donald Trump go do in China? What are the American president doing or delegate doing in China? But when Africans go there, when China go to the African continent, yeah, it become problem. Oh, China is coming to do this. China is a bad business to do a business with. China is not a good partner. If China is not a good partner, what was Donald Trump doing in China? If China is not a good partner, what is Donald Trump doing in China? Oh, you bear a relationship with China, but you tell the African, don't go to China. China is a bad partner to do business with. When they come to the U.S., but at the same time, the United States is still flying to China. No, China did not fly to the United States. No, it was the United States flying to China. China did not fly here. No. United States went to China and said, big brother, we're coming to you. Yes, Donald Trump backed China and said, big brother, we are coming to you. Our economy is scratching. Don't listen to us. Even though we are telling Africans that you are a bad partner, Africans shouldn't make business with you. No, don't listen to what we say. We are lying to them because we are the devil the Bible speak of. We are deceiving them because we are the devil the Bible speak of. So we beg you. We are coming to you. What do you want? We're going to fly to your nation. We need this. We need this. We cannot survive without you. But these people will tell Africa, China is bad. China is don't make business with China. Don't sign deal with China. But they are also running to China. Do you see the audacity in there? Do you see the minds of the devil? So the history are not the same. Because if not for what Europe, Washington, D.C., or the West have caused on the African continent, we wouldn't be here talking days. Because we were living perfectly before the devil came in. We survived perfectly before the devil came in. And they destroyed all of our kingdom. Destroy our way of life. Destroy our civilization. And they gave us nothing. And then they said slavery was a civilization they gave to us. We should appreciate it. Colonization was civilization they gave us. We should appreciate it. Cutting our hands, our legs up was civilization. They said we should appreciate it. Giving our babies to alligator bait, they say our civilization, we should appreciate it. Raping our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, they say it was civilization, we should appreciate it. Put them on a plantation and then having sex with them, sex slave, giving baby, getting them pregnant, and then sending a baby to plantation owner, like animal, like cattle. They say that was civilization, we should appreciate it. No, France, the history of black people is not the same as France, because the last time we remember when Haiti was fighting for independence, you told Haiti, because Haiti want freedom, Haiti had to give reparation to the slave owner. And today's dollar, Haiti paid $23 billion to France. But today, when black people are saying, then the slave should get reparation, France said, no, you veto it. Yes, European veto it. Whether you esteem yourself, but you did not accept it. You said, no, it is not a crime against humanity. So we don't have the same interest. We don't have the same history. And we have the same interest, just how Haiti paid $23 billion to slave owner because the slave wanted to be free. Today, France will stand firm and return the $23 billion back to Haiti and say, no, we have the same interest. Our history is the same. I'm a Pan-Africanist. Emmanuel Macron will turn out $23 billion back to Haiti. But our history are not the same. Our interests are not the same. Emmanuel Macron, you are the devil the Bible speaks of. So how can you tell us you are a Pan-Africanist? You believe in Pan-African. How can you tell us our history are the same? How can you tell us our interests are the same? Look at Haiti today. No hospital. Look at Haiti today, what they are going through. As a result of paying $23 billion to France, because they wanted Haiti to be free. Because they wanted the devil, the white man, to leave them alone. Look at Haiti today. Emmanuel Macron, have you been to Haiti? Give them the $23 billion. Give Haiti the $23 billion back that they paid to you. Then we will understand. How can we have the same interest or the same history when you are systematically killing our democratic leader? You killed Gaddafi. Yes, by nature, Gaddafi was a democratic leader because he provided for his people that those so-called democratic nations are not even doing. The Libyan people enjoy their resources. Are the Nigerian people enjoying their resources? A democratic nation? The Libyan people enjoy their resources. They have free housing. They have, free healthcare. In Nigeria, do they have free healthcare? The largest producer of oil in Africa today, as we speak right now, do they have free healthcare? Do they have free educational system? That the way it was in Libya? Even if Libya want to go out of the country to learn, the Libyan president Muammar Gaddafi will sponsor it. Do we have that in Nigeria? Do we have that in Liberia? Do we have that in Ghana? Do we have that in Sierra Leone? Do we have that in Benin? Do we have that in Africa? Do we have that in Senegal? Do we have that in Guinea-Bissau? Do we have that in Equatorial Guinea, one of the leading producer of oil? We have the share company there, looting our resources. Do we have that in those places? But Emmanuel Macron, Europe went and killed Gaddafi, along with the United States, Washington, D.C., through Obama and Hillary Clinton. Then how can the interests of Africa be the same? When you hate African democratic leaders, when you hate African leaders who want betterment for Africa, when you hate African leaders who say, you know what, we can do this, you hate them, you castrate them, you kill them, you take them out of power, you create proxy war in those places. How can our interests be the same? You are the devil. You guys are the devil. You know, let's see something here. Let's see something here. Let's see something here. We said we're bringing history out, right? Let's see something here. We're bringing history out. Now, what you see on the screen there, right? That was King Leopold Leto. Sorry to call him king. Another demon of Belgium. All right? Another demon of Belgium. How can the history of Africa be the same as the history of Europe? Look at what Belgium did to the people in DRC Congo. Look at what Belgium did to the people in West Africa there. Look at what Belgium did. And this was the letter in the 1884 Berlin Conference. You know, we talk about the Roman Catholic Church. We talk about the 15, the 14, the 1600. When they came out, when they created missionary, they did the same thing in 1884. You know what they did to create a transatlantic slave trade? They did the same thing in 1884 Berlin Conference to divide Africa among themselves as a cake. And look at the letter. The same letter they wrote in Portugal, right? It is a replication. It evolved. History continued to evolve. It evolved in 1884 Berlin Conference. Look at this here. All right? Look at this here. This was a letter in the 1884 Berlin Conference from Leopold, okay, of Belgium. Letter from King Leopold II of Belgium to colonial missionary in Africa in 1883. So you see again, like I said, when you hear missionary as an African in this time period, when you hear missionary, it's not a good term. Missionary are people who are on a mission, like I told you earlier. When you hear missionary, it doesn't mean they are coming for something good. No, they have a mission. They are on a mission. And in that mission, they are strategic. There are plans on what to do, right? So that you can know their aim. They have motive. When somebody is on a mission, they have motive. When somebody is on a mission, that means they are on a journey. If you are on a journey for a mission, you become a missionary. For example, if someone is a revolutionary, right? Or let's say someone is fighting for a revolution. Okay? He's called a revolutionary. For example, like Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso today, right? Those leaders are called revolutionary because they are fighting a revolution. Whenever you are fighting a revolution, you are called a revolutionary. Whenever you are on a mission, you are called a missionary because you are on a mission. You are embarking on a mission. You are called a missionary. So that doesn't mean when you are called a missionary, then that means you have a good term. So when we see these people come on the African continent, they are missionary, then we start thinking they're coming to save or they are Messiah. But in simple terms, missionary are people who are on a mission. And if you're on a mission, you embark on that mission, you become a missionary. If you're on a mission, you embark on that journey, you become a missionary. So it is the title, the missionary, the nearer that behind it, okay? The suffix that come along with it, it is a title. It is a title of the person who is on our mission. So listen to what Leopold said here. Listen to what he said here. Okay? Listen to what he said here. He said, Reverend. Okay? Reverend. So he's speaking to the missionary. Reverend, Father, and dear compatriot. Now, he was talking to the European, to the white man. He was not speaking to the black man. He was speaking to non-black of what they are going to do to the black, of what they are going to do to the non-white, of what they are going to do to the African continent. The same way the Roman Catholic Church in Portugal in the 14, the 1600, they sat down, the 1400, they sat down and wrote letter about the transatlantic slave trade. This was the same thing their children did also after the transatlantic slave trade in 1884 Berlin Conference. This was the same thing they did from their forefather. You see, these people continue to learn their history and they continue to apply it and they continue to accept it. But it is Africans who will learn the history, honor the history, and fail to apply it. And these people never fail to apply it. That's why history continues to evolve. History don't repeat, but it evolves. So this is Leopold talking to the white people. Reverend, Father, dear compatriot, the tax that is given to fulfill is very delicate. Delicate means, right? Something that you should be careful of before we mess up, before we blunder. Okay? something that you should pay attention to. Okay? Is the tax that is given to fulfill is very delicate and require much tactics. T-A-T, tax, but it means tactics. That's all English. The tax, but it just means tactics. Okay? It just means tactics. So it is all English. All right? The tax that is given to fulfill is very delicate and require much tactics. Now, while Leopold was saying this, you imagine the video that we showed earlier. Leopold was telling the people that you are going to in Africa, the truth is the religion, it came from there. Okay? So they already know all these commandments. They already know God. They introduced God. Imagine before that time, right? Before the colonization, imagine these people land in Africa. They are scientists. So look, folks, these people always place on our mind. It have always been like that in history. Why? Because we fail to learn. Even if we learn, we fail to accept. Even if we accept, we fail to apply it. And that's just our failure. But these people, right? They learn, they accept, and they apply it. And we learn, we don't accept. If we accept, we fail to apply it. So you see it. So they knew that religion, like we practice, how to call it, we have our way of practice. They knew that we believe in God. They knew that we believe in commandment. They knew that we believe in laws. They knew that we believe in constitution. We have all of these things. So he was telling them, do not go there and preach to them. Go and preach what we are about to tell you. And listen to what Leopold said here. Reverend Father and dear compatriot, the tax that is given is very delicate and require much tactics. You will go, certainly. You see it? Certainly you will go. Obviously you will go. Truthfully you will go. Knowingly you will go. Faithfully you will go to evangelize. Now again, you see the word evangelize. Whenever you see these white people coming to the African continent or to black nation, they say they are coming to evangelize, drive them away. Drive them away. If these people love Africa, we're talking about since the 1400. When they went there, then by now Africa should be, I don't know where, different looking where, like paradise. If these people, they are missionary, right? Then by now Africa should be in paradise. But ask yourself, what kind of missionary they came there? What did they evangelize to us? They destroy our way of life, our civilization. They say they came to evangelize. But listen to this. So, not every message that they bring, in fact, all their messages have never been good. You will go certainly to evangelize, but listen to this. That's conjunction. You will go to evangelize, right? You will go to tell them about X, Y, Z, but this is what we want to tell you. Listen to this. But your evangelization must. If somebody tell you, say you must go, that means it's forced. That means there is no excuse. Don't ask, no question. You have to lead. You have to follow. You listen to this. But your evangelization must require above all Belgian interest. Did you see that? So these people, they are on a mission. When you're on a mission, you are missionary. You have a hidden motive. Okay? You are not on a mission because of the people that are there. You are on a mission because of you, your interests, where you come from, and the people you come from. Okay? So you heard that. But your evangelization must inspire above everything, Belgian interest. Okay? And that is to go to the other nation. France, your evangelization in Africa should go above everything but France. And that is why France was in Africa. There was something called a French assimilation. The French assimilation means nothing else but France, nothing else but French, nothing else but the culture of France, nothing else but the way of France. All other things should be away with. No languages, local languages, nothing. So how can Emmanuel Macron say the interest of Africa, the history of Africa is the same as France, is the same as Europe? It can never be. Because you destroy us, you are the devil. Let's read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's read because we have time to go. We still got things to present. Now, Leopold said, your principal objective, you see here, you see the missionary? Your principal objective in our mission. You see that? Like I told you, when somebody is on a mission and they are coming, they are missionary. Because they are on a journey. They have a mission. So it is just the title that has been added to the suffix. Missionary. Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo. Your principal objective in our mission in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Benin, Mauritania, you name it. Your principal objective for Great Britain, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, in Kenya, Portugal, your principal objective for our mission in Cape Verde, and the list can go on. Germany, your principal objective in Cameroon. The list can go on. But again, in 1916, French and England got together. They drove away. They fought the British. I mean, sorry, not the British, but the German. The French and the English in 1916 jumped together and they fought the German. Leopold. Sorry, not Leopold, Hitler. They jumped together and fought Hitler. And removed Hitler. And removed the German. So then it became your principal objective in Cameroon for our mission for England and France. That's why today you have English-speaking country in Cameroon and French-speaking country in Cameroon. So your principal objective in Cameroon for England and France. Your principal objective in our mission in Liberia for the United States, Washington, D.C. is never to teach the nigger, Niggers, which is also in the Bible. So that Bible, that thing you see there, it was a constitution. It was a law. In fact, when you read the Bible, it will tell you it was not a Bible. It was a law. It was a law that was given to the people. It was never called Bible. It was never called Bible. It is a law. It is a constitution. It is a custom that was given to the people to live by that custom, to live by that word, to live by that law or that constitution. But they disobeyed. Okay? So you see it. So your principal objective in Liberia, your principal objective in Congo, your principal objective in Cameroon, your principal objective in Nigeria, in Ghana, Benin, Sudan, is not to teach the black man. Nigger just mean black. Okay, in the Bible, again, those of you that think the Bible was brought by the white man, right? It is a white man religion. No, nigger. White man never called nigger. And when you define nigger, it means black. Now, your principal objective in these places is not to teach the black man, the nigger, to know God. You see this? So, to those of you who say missionary, they are coming, that God people, no. They are saying in the 1884 Berlin Conference, their principal objective, United States principal objective in Liberia was not to teach Liberian about God. Their principal objective in Ghana was not to teach the Ghanaian about God. Their principal objective in Sierra Leone was not to teach the Sierra Leonean about God. Their principal objective in DRC Congo Their principal objective in all of Africa was not to teach the black man, the African, about God. And imagine, this time Africa was not divided. Okay? The 1884 Berlin Conference was a time that when they sat down, right, to demarcate, to cut the boundary. Okay? To cut the boundary in 1884. That's the time when they divided Africa, cut. But before then, it was just open. So how can Emmanuel Macron say the history of Africa is the same as the history of Europe? Never. So they knew God actually came from us. They knew this worship, the thing called God, it came from us. So you heard it. It's not to teach them about God. This, they already know. You heard it. You see it? He said this. They already know. They already know God. They speak and submit. You see it? They speak and submit to Mungu. So at that time, right? At that time, right? We never called God Jesus because Jesus is a new term. Jesus never existed. Jesus was not in textbooks. J was not there. Jesus was a name they created to fit to their narrative. Jesus is their only white God. Jesus is their only pagan God. That's why they don't believe in what you believe in. They don't believe in the Bible. They don't believe in the law because it was not a law that was given to them. It was given to you and not to them. So they don't believe in it. So you heard it. Do not teach them about God because they already know God. They speak and submit to God. And their God have name. You see it? They speak and submit to a Mungu. One Himbi, one Hizakambi, and what else? I don't know. So this is Leopold speaking to the missionary. And what else? I don't know. They know that to kill, you see, they know that to kill, to sleep with someone else's wife, to lie and to insult is bad. You heard that? It was not a white man that brought this thing to us. The white man himself is saying it. Don't go and teach these things. They already know it. He said, have courage. He's telling the missionary. So it's like the missionary was not asking questions. Then how are we going to do it? The people know all of these things. But listen to what Leopold told them. Listen to what they said in our Berlin conference. Don't be afraid. Have courage to admit it. Have courage to admit it. You are not going to teach them what they already know. So the white man will never ever come to teach you to be independent. It will never happen. The white man will never ever come to teach you about your resources. It will never happen. They will never come to teach you about how important you are. It will never happen. They will never come to teach you about what you need to do to grow, what you need to do to empower your African continent. It will never ever happen. Never. You saw it? Leopold is telling the people. First of all, he said, this is a hard tax, but you have to be brutal. You have to go there. You don't care about them. Don't see them as human beings. Don't see them as any of you. Yes, they have legs, they have nose, just like, or they have every feature that are us. But the difference is, they are God-chosen people. So don't go there and feel for them. Be brutal. Because we have a mission. You are a missionary. Go and evangelize what we are telling you to do in our interest. In Belgium interest. In Washington, D.C. interests. In France interest. In Europe interests. Have courage to admit it. You are not going to teach them what they already know. Your essential, your role, what is important. Listen to the opponent. Your essential role is to facilitate. is to facilitate the task of administrator. To facilitate the task of administrator. What you are being taught here, that's why you should go and facilitate. Don't go and teach your own thing. Go and administer what we are telling you to do. If you administer what we are telling you to do, then you are an administrator for Belgium, for Washington, D.C., for France, for Germany, for Portugal. Okay? You are an administrator. We are hiring you and we will pay you. So you are an administrator. Have the courage to admit you are not going to teach them what they already know. Your essential role is to facilitate the task of administrator and industrial, which means you will go to interpret it. You see, you will go to interpret the gospel. That means you will go and change the gospel. So white men did not bring gospel to the African people. We knew it already. So you will go and interpret the gospel. You will give them a false gospel. What is the false gospel? What you believe in is wrong. What you believe in is not the right thing. What you believe in is paganism. We are your master. When we slap you, we turn the other cheeks and we slap it. Love your master as he love your master as he love your God. But the real book say, do not worship no other God before me, because I am a jealous God. So then, the new gospel is love your slave master as he love your God. But my God is telling me I cannot love him and love another person, especially a mere mortal. You see, so go and teach them these things. Obey your master. Slave obeyed your master. Your essential role is to facilitate the task of administrator and industrial, which means you will go to interpret the gospel in the way it will be the best to protect your interest in that part of the world. So how can the French history, European history be the same as the African history? When everything in Africa have always been the interest of Washington, D.C., have always been the interest of France, have always been the interest of Europe, and not the interest of Africans. Our history are not the same. I will take this out here. I can't read the whole thing. Hold on, folks. All right, folks. Yeah, my mom was calling me. So you see, look, history have always evolved. History is not repeating. The truth is, right? Let us be frank here. These white people, right? They have always learned what their forefathers left back, right? And they have always accepted what they learned from their forefather. And they have always learned how to apply or implement what their forefather left. And that is why we think that, history like repeating. No, it's not repeating. It's just evolving. It's not repeating. History, it's been going on. It's just evolving in different form. And the reason why it keeps to evolve is because we as Black people, we fail to learn. Even if we learn, we fail to accept. Because we still live in denial. Even if we accept, we fail to implement. Because we still live in denial. Because we still believe that there is white people sitting out somewhere that we will die and go there. But the truth is, when you die, you're not going to the side of the black ancestor, the white ancestor. You're going to the side of the black ancestor. That's the way it is. You will join the black people who came before you, who have died. You will join them, and some of them will leave there and come back again on this earth. They will reincarnate and leave you dead. So for each time a black man is born, another black man who is dead will be born. For each time a black man is dead and gone, another black man who have died long time will return back. So get that into your score now. Lower that. When you die, you go and you wait for another years to pass, and then you come back. If you die, especially when you are wicked, you were born, you will come back, right? And be poor. You will be born into a poor family. So most of those people who are poor today, some of those poor black people who are suffering, right? Time passed, they were rich. Time passed, you see people like William Ruto, people are telling those people, they will come back, they will reincarnate. When they come back, they will live in abject poverty, they will suffer. You have to pay. You think, look, the white man came and changed everything around and say, when you die, and you go for judgment. Look, the African spirituality, right? It's the same thing. They just change it around. You die, you go for judgment. You know that judgment? You're going to come back. You got to come back to face judgment. That's the African spirituality. You have to come back. Without Ruto, then will come back to face judgment. Tinubu, all these people will come back to face judgment. And when they come back, they will be poor on planet Earth. I'm telling you this. It's not like you die, then you go to... No. These people reincarnate. They will suffer. They will suffer. I'm telling you. That's the African... Look, I don't want to change the topic, but these people will come back. They will come back and they will suffer. They will have to pay. They will have to pay. People like William Ruto, they have to come back. And they will protest. You see, people, William Ruto, they will come back. They will talk, hey, government not doing this, government. They will beg and beg. They have to come back. Their parents then are enjoying today, their brothers and sisters, their church, they have to come back. They will be born back on our same lineage. They're all going to be born back on our same lineage. They all will suffer. All the African president, then are sending their children, then their relatives, then are brought to school, BBT cars, and then you see them enjoying this, that. They all will come back in our same lineage. Reincarnation. They will come back. Let's continue. That's another topic. Maybe someday we'll get into that spiritual aspect. But all of them are going to come back. They will face justice on earth here. Now when you die, no, they will come back. And if you are a good leader, and for some reason they cut your life short, you will also come back to finish what you started. If you are a bad leader and you're not giving the opportunity to your people, you are bad and selfish. What we see today, most of our African leaders, these people will come back and they will suffer. The good leader, I'm telling you, they will come back to finish what is started. It's reincarnation. Those are the things that we believe in. That's why the white men, for example, when they killed Patrick Lumumba, why you think they killed Patrick Lumumba? You think it was there for coincidence? They put ashes on him, they burn him. They say so he can reincarnate. Look, these people know about us that we know about them. They know we come back. They know about us, then we know about them. That is why they burn his body. So they say, so he can reincarnate. So our history are not the same, folks, with the white man that Macron and Emmanuel Macron said. It's not the same and will never be the same.
It's unusual to see you here for business.
Look, no, it's not unusual for me to be here. By the way, I was the first president to visit Kenya. It's true. It was in 2019, so this is a comeback, and I'm very happy to be here again. But I'm a strong believer in Africa, in the African continent, as a one continent. I'm used to say I'm a positive Pan Africanist. I'm not a Pan Africanist to say this thing doesn't work well or to spoil other situations. I'm a positive Pan Africanist, like William Ruto. And I'm here first because I wanted to be in a country showing this transformation of the French software vis-à-vis Africa. Meaning we want a new equal partnership. So there is no past relation with Kenya and no colonization time. So it's probably more easy to do so. Second is I have a strong connection with President Ruto. We clearly believe in the same path forward for Africa and the relation between the African continent and the European continent, meaning we believe that we have a common future. Sovereignty, more independence, our young people. And we do believe together that the solution is through investment on education, on agriculture, on health, on economic opportunities, much more than having a sort of a unilateral dialogue where the North.
All right, folks, I had to take it out right because to me, he's saying all BS. To me, everything he's saying is all BS. I believe in Africa as a one continent, but Africa is a continent, or is Africa. There's no two continents in Africa. Oh God. There's no two continents in Africa. There's no one continent called Africa. So I don't know what he means by I believe in Africa as one continent. Are there two continents in our part of the world that we want to bring together? Are there two continents? That Emmanuel Macron is talking about, I believe in Africa as one continent. There's only one Africa. There's no two Africa. That's number one. Number two, he said our partnership now is not going to base on, you heard it, it's not going to base on colonialism. Wow. So Emmanuel Macron have just admitted that the reason why Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso broke away is because of colonialism. But at the same time, Emmanuel Macron does not support Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso breaking away from France. Let me repeat. Emmanuel Macron made a statement that this time around, my coming to Kenya, Kenyan people, you're listening. There's a reason why Kenya, you guys need to listen and listen well. Do not allow Emmanuel Macron on the nation, in the nation of Kenya. Listen to this. Emmanuel Macron said, this time around, my being in Kenya, we understand Africa being colonized and Africa being run by colonization and Africa being colonialism, right? And being run on colonial agenda. Fine. But then, why is Emmanuel Macron against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Because the reason why Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso broke away was simple. Because France controlled those nations on a colonial platform. How? The uranium of Niger power France and Europe. But Niger lived on an abject poverty, no light, no current. That is colony. The Burkina Faso gold. The Malian people gold. The reserve is in France, not in Burkina Faso and not in Mali. And even as that, the reserve of the voyage is in France. It's not owned by Burkina Faso. It's not owned by Mali. Even as that, the Malians have no authority, but it is France that own it and France that have authority over it. That is a colony. The government of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso at the time was controlled by France. That is a colony. The decision-making come from France. That is a colony. The presidential of those countries, right, are being appointed by France, influenced by France. That is a colony. And the list can go on. So in this nation, if Emmanuel Macron said, this time we understand that, Africa, we're not going to treat Africa as a colony, this, that, whatsoever. Why is Emmanuel Macron angry with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Look, Kenya, be wise. And to all our nation, be wise. Open your mind. Listen to this. I didn't say it. Emmanuel Macron said it. So we are just asking him now, why is he angry with Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Because the reason why those people broke away is because their gold, their diamond, their uranium, their resources, their cotton, nothing benefited them. Every year, 500 billion go to China. Go to France. Every year, they now benefit from anything. But it go to France and then it boom the French economy. That is a colony. And then after they broke away, they send their military back to France. What happened? It has been alleged numerous times France support the terrorist group in our region. In fact, the recent one we just saw in Mali, they said it was supported by France. France put all those groups together to go and overthrow how they call it, Keita. So how can you be a Pan-Africanist? How can you believe in Pan-Africanists? And he said he's a believer of Pan-African generals, William Ruto. William Ruto is not a Pan-Africanist. William Ruto is a puppet. William Ruto is a puppet. William Ruto is a pet to the West. Puppet. A pet to Washington, D.C., to France. That's Emmanuel Macron baby with William Ruto. That's Emmanuel Macron pet with William Ruto. That's Emmanuel Macron how they call it, puppet with William Ruto. That is Emmanuel Macron neo-colonialist with William Ruto. So African interest is not the same as the West. Never will be and ever will be. Because our fights are not the same. Africans are not fighting any nation. Africans are not putting sanctions on any nation. Our fight is we just want to control what belongs to us. And your fight is you don't want for Africans to control what belongs to them. Your fight is you don't want for Africa to control what belongs to them. So we are not the same. We will now be the same.
Cable and pay attention, my people. As you okay, listen, pay attention, cable and pay attention, my people. As you all can see the news, we have a new Pan-Africanist in the block. Not just a Pan-Africanist, but a true Pan-Africanist. Who is that? Emmanuel Macron of France. He made a statement saying that they are the true Pan-Africanist. Reason being that they are the ones that believe that Africa is a continent. They are the ones that believe that Africa is the youngest continent. They are the ones that believe that Africa have enormous amount to build. They believe that we have an extraordinary demographic dividend. They believe that we are the one with the greatest growth in the world. That makes Emmanuel Macron to be the only true Pan-Africanist. Akebulan. That statement did not only make me cry. That statement made me weep for the entire continent, because that was an insult, not just to us, but to our ancestors, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and the rest of them who saw Shege Pro Max in the hands of these Franc-Afrique colonial powers. Akebulan. As if that was not enough, our people applauded when that statement was made. You see, it is usually those who are being played that usually make the clap. You need to understand something. Our people have forgotten very, very fast. Tomorrow it is our people that will say, oh, history has repeated itself. History does not repeat itself. It is people who repeat history. And our leaders are about to repeat history. Remember yesterday I told you I am not against partnership. World leaders build partnership. The issue is, how are you building this partnership? Are you negotiating from a place of weakness, or are you negotiating from a place of strength? But you see what Emmanuel Macron said, that they are the true Pan-Africanists. and our people applauded. That is how power works. That is how power moves. Because for you to get the honey, you must first move like the bee. For you to be allowed to get into the house, you must first behave like a family member. That is how power works. Power makes you believe that he is part of you before it takes power. You need to understand that propaganda these days does not move like propaganda. Propaganda does not need force. All you need propaganda to do is sweet speeches in a summit. Propaganda comes subtle. Before you know it is all over you. But you need to understand that Africa, this time around, what we need is not sweet speeches by foreign leaders. We don't just want partnership, we want fair partnership. Africa do not want that manipulation anymore that would get us to gumbo diplomacy. No, we want fair partnership. That is what we want. But listen, so that you will not be enticed with these sweet speeches. You need to understand that colonialism is no longer with chains. No, colonialism has evolved. It comes as conferences. It comes with camera. It comes with speeches. It comes at summit. It comes in form of partnership, in form of friendship. Before you know it is over. Pan-Africanism is not performance. It is not sweet speeches. It is not telling us that we are friends. Pan-Africanism is Africans building African economy. Africans building companies, Africans believing Africans, Africans building African currency, building African technology, Africans believing one another. That is Pan-Africanism, not performance, not sweet speeches. Do you understand? The days are gone when we are deceived with this paparazzi. African leaders must understand this. We are not attacking you. No, we are supporting you, but you need to work with wisdom. Because when a foreign leader gets to a point where they come to define African liberation for Africans, is a slap on our face. If we have that from Putin, we can manage it. But not from an empire that demonstrated Frank-Afrique to our ancestors, coming to tell us that they are the true Pan-Africanists because they want to sign deals with us. No, some things cannot be allowed. The worst and the highest form of colonialism is when people do no longer know the kind of people that define their narrative. If there's anything that we hold so dear to, it is that term, Pan-Africanist. Anyone cannot just claim to be a pioneer of it. It's an insult to our ancestors. We can't take it. We can't. You must understand that people want you to connect to them emotionally. Because when you connect to people emotionally, what it does to you is that you do no longer question their intention. Before you know, they are getting everything that is yours. To get the honey, you must first move like the bee. So how do they move like the bee? By telling you that they are the true Pan-Africanists, that they want exact thing that you want. They even went to the extent to tell us that Africa and Europe want the same thing. How do we want the same thing? How are we facing the same situation? We are not having the same thing. Yes, I am not a sadist, but I can tell you the truth. Africa and Europe are not the same. We are not facing the same situation. We must tell ourselves this truth. Don't tell us that you are the true Pan-Africanist. We know Pan-Africans when we see it. If our leaders decide to sign deals with you, no problem. But I must tell you for a fact, don't repeat history and blame history for repeating itself. And honor our ancestors. Don't let people claim what they are not in our continent. Akebulan, I love you and I care about you. Mind you can.
So France, Emmanuel Macron, we are not the same. Because the last time we checked, France killed Thomas Sankara, a great leader of Burkina Faso. You kill him, France. You kill Thomas Sankara. How can we be the same? Absolutely, we are not the same. You kill Thomas Sankara.
Macron, the president of France, looked at us in our faces and said that Africa and Europe want the same thing. That we want peace, we want prosperity, and we want sovereignty. Akebulan, can you imagine that? And African leaders were just looking at him and we're clapping. Tell me, how do Africa and Europe want the same thing? Our ancestors were busy eating yam and cocoyam, enjoying themselves in this continent. Their ancestors were looking for who to invade. You cannot come and say that Africa and Europe want the same thing. After centuries of your people exploiting our continent, you come out and speak as if history never happened. Should we tell you that from 1800, European powers invaded Africa, partitioned Africa, exploited African resources to build the European economy, and you come and tell us that we want the same thing? Should we tell you? Should we tell you that in the 1800s, your country, France, colonized a large part of Africa, West Africa and Central Africa, Britain took the rest? Should we tell you what your brothers, Belgium, how they turned Congo into a camp under King Leopold II? Millions died, their hands were cut off for not meeting quotas. How do we want the same thing? How? Or should we talk about the Berlin Conference 1884-1885, how your people gathered and partitioned and shared Africa like a piece of cake without a single African leader being present? How do we want the same thing? Emmanuel Macron, we have never wanted the same thing. No, your people have always wanted to invade, to take all that we have. You can't speak as if history never happened. Should we talk about the so-called independence? Should we talk about what happened in Niger or Togo or Burkina Faso or Mali or Senegal? Should we talk about what happened to our leaders, Thomas Sankara? Should we talk about Sylvanus Olympio? Should we talk about these people? And you say we want the same thing. It's an insult to tell us we want the same thing. Should we talk about even after the so-called independence that happened to appear in paper, but not in economy, not in politics? At the end of the day, all your colonies, their monetary value were still tied to your monetary treasure, all connected to France to build your economy. Should we talk about how gold, uranium, how diamonds, how our precious stones were being exploited by your people to build your own electricity, while Nigerians are still living in darkness? Should we talk about it? How do we want the same? You say we want the same thing, and we want the same peace, the same prosperity, the same sovereignty. Emmanuel Macron, your sovereignty has never been threatened. Your peace has never been threatened. It has never been threatened. It is us whose peace has been threatened. Our sovereignty has been threatened. Our prosperity has been threatened. Your people build your economy and industrialize your civilization and your continent from the exploitation of African resources. We Africans are still trying to recover from slavery, from colonization, from political destabilization, from economic exploitation, from debt systems, from foreign interference, from gunboat diplomacy, from neocolonialism, from imperialism. And you stood there, look us in the face and said that we want the same thing. No, we don't want the same thing. We have never wanted the same thing. Don't tell us that. Don't patronize us with those words. If our leaders want to cooperate with Europe, beautiful. We can cooperate with Europe. We can pursue peace together. But first, truth must come before all these slogans. Africa and Europe want the same thing in terms of peace, prosperity, and sovereignty. That is what you tell a child before you deceive him. We have passed the age of touching our bomb and smelling it. We have passed the age of seeing an aeroplane and be waving aeroplane, throw money for us. No. No, Emmanuel Macron. Africa and Europe don't want the same thing. We don't want the same thing. You cannot exploit a continent for centuries and come and tell us that we want the same thing as if history never happened. No, we remember. That would be an insult to our ancestors. Akebulan, wisdom is the principal thing. As you go to work today, whatever endeavor that you do today that is good, it will prosper. It will prosper. God bless you. Akebulan, wisdom is the principal thing. And if you want to support my book foundation, okay, the link is in my bio. You can also message me, okay? We are still getting books, going to schools, giving African children African books by African authors and other authors who also made sense, free of charge. You can also request, I will give you. And if you have sent me a message on WhatsApp before and I've not responded, please send a reminder, because a lot of people are sending message and few people are doing many things. I love you. Don't doubt it. Akeblan, wisdom is the principal thing. Aha!
He actually said that during his visit to Kenya. This is the same guy who said Africa has a civilizational problem on his first Africa visit. And then, moments later, he lectured the audience for being too noisy. The irony here is hard to miss, because when Africans hear France talking about Pan-Africanism, many remember a long history of violence, extraction, and colonialism. They remember Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso who pushed for African sovereignty, debt resistance, and liberation from neo-colonial influence. A man widely admired across Africa as a symbol of Pan-Africanism, and a man assassinated in 1987. And who came to power after him? Compaoré, a close French ally for decades to come. France has denied involvement, but many across the continent believe Paris played a major role in this African tragedy. Then there is Rwanda. A recent French Commission report acknowledged, quote, serious and overwhelming responsibilities for France's political and military backing of the Hutu-led government before the genocide. Macron himself admitted France failed Rwanda. Failed is an understatement, of course. 800,000 Tutsis were killed. Not exactly the history many Africans associate with Pan-Africanism. And then there's Libya. In the 2000s, French President Sarkozy led a reconciliation effort with Gaddafi, but it would only soften up the Jamahiriya's leader for what was to come. In 2011, France led the NATO regime change intervention alongside the US that helped overthrow Muammar Gaddafi. Now, whether you like Gaddafi or not, it is undeniable that he was a champion of Pan-Africanism in his later years. He supported the dream of the United States of Africa, an African gold-backed currency, African financial institutions independent from Western control. Ultimately, the destruction of Libya and the killing of Gaddafi shattered one of the continent's wealthiest and most stable states, resulting in militancy, violence, and havoc across the entire Sahel region for years to come. Libya is now a site of human slavery, where Africans are tortured, sold, and killed. Doesn't sound like Pan-Africanism to me. The real question is, though, why is Macron saying this? Well, he's bitter over France's collapse across West Africa and the Sahel, specifically in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. French troops were expelled, French ambassadors kicked out, French media and their francophone narratives were also given the boot. A new alliance between these three states further added insult to injury. It got under Macron's skin so much so that he accused African leaders of ingratitude. For what exactly? Killing 1.5 million people in Algeria? The Thiaroye massacre, which saw Senegalese soldiers who fought to liberate France killed? France robbing and then destroying Mali's sewage system after it gained independence? Decades of forcing these nations to use the CFA franc, sucking their resources dry in return for loans and aid, or branding all of the above as France-Afrique, a French synonym for neocolonialism? I guess we'll never know. Believe it or not, though, it actually gets worse for Mr. Macron. His government has been caught red-handed training and funding Al-Qaeda-affiliated terrorist groups in the Sahel that are trying to topple the AES governments. Basically, France's dirty work. And this is not only the AES president saying this, RTL, a French media outlet, has itself confirmed this fact. So quick rewind. Colonization, massacres, genocide, assassinations, regime change, racist remarks, and backing Al-Qaeda groups. Bro, you're as Pan-African as much as I'm French. Macron says,
and they disrupted us. They told us that our God was not God. They came with a God, and today, when you go into many households of those who claim to be Christians or those who are Christians, you find the image of an actor called Geoffrey Hunter being received as the image of Jesus Christ. They came and told us that our names were not good names, and they gave us names. They came and told us that our natural features had to acquire different names. So they came and found Lake Muitanzige and say, no, it is Lake Albert. They came and found our lake with our name. They say, this is Edward. They said another one is George. The falls which we had lived with, they said, this is Murchison. And even our national park, they called it Elizabeth. And when they went down, they found Lake Narubare and said, this is Victoria. And when they went down, they said that the falls, Mosio Tunya, was Victoria Falls. They came and told us that our culture meant nothing. And we believed them. And unfortunately, we still believe them. They came and they disrupted us.
Centuries, thousands of Africans passed through Badagry, one of the major slave ports in West Africa, captured from villages and kingdoms across the region, the match to Martha, the Martha coast. Freedom disappeared with every step toward the ocean. For many, this was the last moment they would ever see their homeland. The path became known as the point of no return. Beyond the sea waited a future of suffering, forced labor, and uncertainty in foreign lands. Human beings were treated like cargo, packed tightly into ships crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Many endured hunger, disease, and brutality during the journey known as the Middle Passage. Countless lives were lost for reaching Europe or the Americas. The Atlantic crossing became one of history's darkest human tragedies. Disease spread quickly. Starvation and suffering became daily reality. Many never survived the voyage. Those who survived arrived in foreign lands where slavery awaited them. Upon arrival, Africans were sold into systems of forced labor and exploitation. Their names, languages, and identities were often erased. Yet despite unimaginable suffering, their resilience and culture survived across generations.
Today, the story of those taken from Badagry is remembered across the world. Their pain shaped history. Their strength shaped generations, and their humanity must never be forgotten.
Democracy. We've never had a democracy. No nation's ever had it. Democracy is a con game. It's a word invented to placate people, to make them accept a given institution. All institutions sing, we are free. The minute you hear freedom and democracy, watch out. Because in a truly free nation, no one has to tell you you're free. Well, this system right now is moving toward fascism, cutting back on the freedoms, what little freedoms we had. We never had complete freedom because the word freedom has no meaning. So don't use the word freedom. Say there's a certain range of behavior we permit in this society, and this is what it is. Don't use the word freedom. Just saying beware of the industrial military complex is not enough, because people don't know what that means exactly. We don't go to another country to bring democracy. We go there for their resources, oil, metals, cheap labor. We don't go to bring democracy. We took this land from the Indians. We stole it. After we took the land, we took New Mexico from Mexico. Then we took California from Spain. After we stole all the land we need, we put up the sign, thou shalt not steal. All nations are corrupt, all of them. Our problems are not political. They were good 100 years ago, but today they're technical. 90% of man-made laws are irrelevant. It isn't laws that we need. People need access to the necessities of life. When that's arranged, they don't steal. In other words, they're brought up to, what's the greatest country in the world? The USA. What's the most inventive country in the world? The USA. But they don't tell us where the printing press came from. That all the foreigners that came to this country brought with them language, religion, ideas, technology. So we owe so much to so many nations. War is a supreme failure of bridging the difference between nations. There'll be no military in the future. See, soldiers are killing machines. You teach them to kill, and the other nation teaches its soldiers to kill. What I would do is teach soldiers, send them back to school free of charge to learn to become problem solvers. That's what's needed. Science applied to government. And the future will look back to children if you say, couldn't you see? Wasn't it obvious to you? You say, well, no, we were brought up and we didn't know the difference.
All right, folks, there's the last video I'm going to play, and then we're going to go away. But the reason why I want to play this last video, right, it's going to talk about, I think, the NAACP or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I think I missed the name. And you see, he's going to explain it. I'm not going to talk too much. But what he explained in this video, right, that is exactly what Europe and America or the West want in Africa. That's the kind of leadership they want in Africa. A leadership that won't be a threat to their existence, to their interest. That's the kind of leadership they want in Africa. So listen.
Caucus, right? Think about this. You have the Black Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus. That's, I think, 55 years old. It's like my age. It was founded in 1971. I was born in 1971. Has anyone ever bombed their offices? Has anyone ever firebombed the CBC conference? Has any sitting member of the Congressional Black Caucus ever been assassinated by COINTELPRO style state operations the way that they assassinated Fred Hampton? No. The Congressional Black Caucus has been allowed to operate in the United States Capitol for over half a century. Its members have acquired seniority. They've chaired committees. You understand? They've held annual conferences with thousands upon thousands of attendees. They've been received at the White House by every sitting president, every president since Richard Nixon. And we already know how he felt about black people. They've been protected. Understand me. They have been protected by the same state that murdered Fred Hampton in his bed. Well, ask yourself why. Because the Congressional Black Caucus is not a threat. Inside that institutional channel, with all the symbolism of black political representation, but none of the substantive disruption of black autonomous power, the Congressional Black Caucus is exactly the kind of formation that the power structure is happy to host. They're happy to host that because it absorbs black political energy. You understand? And it absorbs that, and it produces nothing but speeches and resolutions and press conferences and so forth. It doesn't feed children outside of the state's permission, outside of the system. It doesn't run schools outside of the state's curriculum. It doesn't build cooperative banks that route black wealth around the asset management oligarchy. It doesn't establish endowments like Waqf networks that escape federal taxation. It doesn't organize international black solidarity in ways that will bypass dollar hegemony. No, it operates completely inside the institution, inside the system, on the system's own terms. And the system has correctly calculated that nothing it does will ever damage the system. So it lives. For 55 years, it has lived untouched. Like I say, now compare that to the projects that we've been talking about. Compare that to the projects we've been talking about. Greenwood, Black Wall Street, destroyed. Wilmington, destroyed. Garvey, imprisoned and deported. The Black Panthers, assassinated, infiltrated, dismantled, moved, actually literally bombed from a helicopter in the middle of the city. The pattern is impossible to miss. once you see it. It's impossible to not understand what that pattern means. The institutional black formation that operates inside the political system is left alone, but the autonomous black community formations that operate outside the system, they're targeted. The same power structure that murdered Fred Hampton protected the Congressional Black Caucus, and for the same reason. For the same reason. So now look at the historical record. Look at the historical record with this manner of thinking. The fact that they burned down what they burned down is evidence that what was being built was correct and was working. Voting, the institutional, the Congressional Black Caucus, the symbolic representation, those are the activities that they offer to your grandmother and to your generation instead of the things that your grandmother was actually fighting for. And they offered them precisely because they had already calculated that that would not endanger them in any way, that wouldn't threaten their power and their control and their domination. They burned what was dangerous, and they tolerated and they rewarded what was harmless. The historical record of what they burned and the historical record of what they did not burn is the most reliable map that you have of what's worth trying to build, of what's worth standing for, especially now when Uncle Sam's lighter is running out of lighter fluid.
All right, folks, that is today's presentation. So as you can see, right, whether on the African continent or out of the African continent, right, the history of the European, the history of white will not always be the same as the history of the black man. Okay? The truth here is black everywhere, whether on the African continent or out of the African continent, the history are the same. But it can never be the same with white. White and black people does not have the same history. It have never been and will never be, because the way in which we are being treated. And the truth is, right, the reason why we are being treated now in this current time, in this 21st century, is because, like I said, the thing about black people, we fail to follow history and we fail to learn history. Now, even if we learn history, we fail to accept it. You see it? Now, and even if we accept it, we fail to apply it. Right? We fail to apply it. We fail to be calculated. We fail to say, you know what? This is not going to repeat again. But you see, on the other hand, white folks, the reason why they continue to do what they continue to do, right, is because time with time, right, they continue to learn and evolve. They continue to accept and evolve. So they continue to learn what their forefathers left behind, what their forefathers wrote for them, what they feel their forefathers fought for their interests, right? They learn it and they accept those things. And they accept it, right? And then they apply it. Just how their forefathers apply it. But now, because of how time have evolved, right? They apply it in different ways. Crafted counsel. They apply it in different ways. And the reason why they've been applying it in different ways and it's been working is because we, again, as black people, we fail to accept the reality. And then we fail to implement the reality. And implementation are the thing, for example, that Kwame Nkrumah told us. Implementation, for example, the thing Patrick Lumumba told us. Implementation, for example, the thing Thomas Sankara told us. And you see, what Thomas Sankara told us, right? It is what Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing. And then what happened? Boom. You have Africans on the other side who fail to accept what Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing. But tomorrow, it is the same Africans, right, who will sit and say, but you know what? Thomas Sankara was doing the right thing. Thomas Sankara wanted this. Thomas Sankara wanted better for Africa. Thomas Sankara was there. Thomas Sankara was great. Thomas Sankara was that. But France, boom. United States CIA, boom. They killed Thomas Sankara. You see, they will talk all about the good thing about Thomas Sankara, what he tried to do for African people, right? Then they will say, boom, France and the CIA, United States CIA killed him. Asia CIA killed him. With the influence of some of the bourgeoisie, the puppet, like Blake Campari. And then the same African, today again, they will say, the same black man will say, you see, Gaddafi was doing the right thing. I wish Gaddafi was alive. Gaddafi wanted Africa to unite. Gaddafi wanted Africa one currency. Gaddafi wanted Africa one army. Gaddafi was the right person. But the truth is, right, we know these things, but we fail to accept and we fail to implement. And then when we find an African who want to implement the same thing we are saying that Gaddafi fought for, Gaddafi wanted, when we see an African doing it, boom, we go against that African. Why? Because we fail to implement, we fail to accept. Even if we accept, we fail to implement. But white folks, on the other hand, they have always accepted, they have always learned and accepted, and they have always implemented what their forefathers told them. And that is why, right, we continue to be like this, and they continue to be like that. And we always say on this channel here, right? Look, we are not going to come here and just be blaming the West. For real. And not every time we're going to come here and be blaming West, where's that, Washington DC, the France, that Europe, that The truth is, man, it's us. It's us. Yeah. Sometimes it's us. Even with what Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is doing, there are Africans today. There are Africans, both home and abroad, who does not want to add here. Look, I'm done for today. I'm done. Man, folks, thanks to God, man. Share, like, subscribe. You know, there's a family channel, man. Let us build it. Let us subscribe. You know, I will see you next week. Peace. Before we go, let me play this music. This last music. We started with music. Let me just play it by so we can go. We love you, man, Africa. Peace.
From the roots we rise. Simuza Africa. Simuka Africa. Ngati simuke Africa. Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Angola, Lesotho, Eswatini, Madagascar, Mauritius, Seychelles, Comoros, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea, South Sudan, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Gambia, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, DR Congo, Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Gabon, Central African Republic, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Sao Tome and Principe, Egypt, Morocco, Sudan, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Africa. Africa.
Oh man, we gotta go, man, folks. We gotta go, man. Peace. You know what? I'm gonna post the link. Let me post this link. I know somebody was asking for the music link. I'm gonna post it, okay? It's on TikTok, but I'm gonna post the link.
Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Angola, Lesotho, Eswatini, Madagascar, Seychelles, Comoros, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea, South Sudan, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, Togo, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Gambia, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, DR Congo, Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Gabon, Central African Republic, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Sao Tome and Principe, Egypt, Morocco, Sudan, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Africa.
Oh man, we gotta go. I see you all, man. Love you guys. Peace.
Africa.
Peace, man. Boys, we gotta go, man. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Africa.
The white power structure, because that's all we have in America. And the white power structure today is just as much interested in perpetuating slavery as the white power structure was 100 years ago. Only now they use modern